Make Me a Fan podcast.
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 Make Me a Fan podcast. Make Me a Fan podcast.
All right, welcome everyone to the Make Me a Fan podcast. You know how this intro goes, so I'm not going to waste your time. I'm joined by a very special guest. He specializes in shit that I don't understand at all because I got kicked out of high school. My good friend Derek. How you doing, Derek?
I'm doing great, Sean. Thank you so much for having me, giving me a chance to share the information and talk about a little gematria numerology.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about gematria or gematria, however you want to say it.
That's one of the pronunciations, yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
If someone says it different than you, don't shame them. It's potato, okay? Everyone's free to talk however they want. So, gematria, but give us a basic definition. What is this?
Sure. So, simply put, gematria is the practice of coding numbers into words. And our English language is actually a numeric language. We do have separate letters and numbers. However, our alphabet is derived from the Hebrew and Greek alphabets, which did not have separate numeric systems. They actually combined their language with numbers. So if they wanted to write the number 82, they would use characters that also look like letters. There's a little mark that indicates it's a number, but they did not have separate alphabets. So we find that when we translate these charts that they used based on the simple alphabetical order, and then applying basic rules of numerology, such as reduction or amplification, when we apply these to the English language and dissect numbers and very basic mathematical equations, we find some pretty staggering things. And not only is this the code that built our language and actually our country as well, this is actually being used by the mainstream media as some type of form of spiritual Kabbalah that we see that's being practiced. And they code their headlines by the numbers. Everything they do is by the numbers. If you just want a quick example here.
When you say they, who do you mean by they? Is that the...
Well, that's a great question because we don't know exactly who is pulling strings behind the scenes. This is by design. And, you know, when you look at CNN closely and MSNBC, Fox News, their websites, they always publish items at certain times, too, that are significant to the story. So it's almost like there's some software application that's actually running these programs. And there was a guy named Chigozie who was on YouTube. He had worked his way up to about 1,200 subscribers, was sharing the same thing. He was just signing on to CNN every day, doing 1 or 2 hours of videos, just decoding articles. And his channel got deleted out of nowhere. I mean, he didn't get any warnings about any community guideline violations, nothing like that.
Yeah, you've been having problems with YouTube lately, haven't you?
Yes, I did a video. The video I had on my channel that got the closest to viral was a video that I put out the day of the Barcelona terrorist attack, in which 13 people were supposedly killed by a van that drove through the city of Barcelona and injured, 100 others. And the van just so happened to stop on this mosaic. And you look at who crafted the mosaic, and there's all these synchronicities between the number 33 and 13 and this attack. And you find that it's the same thing that we've been revealing all of this time. These are tributes to the coming solar eclipse. This event was 4 days before. So I posted a video and I said, okay, here's the gematria and numerology of the attack. Here's a significant astrological event that occurred that same day, and see how the gematria of that ties into this event. And all I did is I just ran mathematical equations. I called it a false flag attack. I did not call it a hoax. I did not say no one got hurt, no one got killed, even though the event was very questionable. Indeed, there were drills going on that day, as there are in all these events. And, I shared this information and tried to show this knowledge to other people. And that video got over 15,000 views.
Jesus Christ.
Within 24 hours. And, there's... If you go on my YouTube channel, real quick, if you don't mind me spelling out the name of the website.
Yeah, give a shout out to yourself.
Will do. It's gematrinator.com, and I'm going to spell that. It's GEMATRINATOR.com. And when you sign on there, you'll see the main page and links to the calculator and date duration calculator and a number of other things. But so I'm sharing these equations and just showing like here are the syncs with 13 and 33, and this is why it happened today, and this is why it's 13 that they reported dead. I mean, this was the number that's been so huge in the eclipse, which I can happily show you guys. And and I woke up the next morning and I had gone to bed with 12,000 views. I said, wow, the most popular video on my channel at the time only had 13,000 views. That was the presentation I did called Signs of Time, that you can find on any playlist on the internet that's talking about teaching gematria and numerology right now.
Okay.
In fact, about a month and a half later, by the way, this song called Sign of the Times was released by Harry Styles, whose name gematria matches my birth date, oddly. And now when you go into Google and type Signs of Time, it's just Sign of the Times. That's all you see. You don't see my presentation on there anymore. So anyway, so this video had like 15,000 views, and I woke up the next morning because I had this it's this surface dream sort of, where it had like 202,000 views. And I said, holy smokes. So I went to quick check, and the video was gone. It wasn't even there. And like I said, I never swore in the video even. I didn't call it a hoax. I didn't say anybody was lying.
Did you have like music playing at all?
No music. I always make it a point not to show any video from websites in these kinds of videos. I just had PowerPoint where I had, here's the gematria, here's a screenshot of the news, here's, this and that. And that video got deleted, removed from YouTube. And this is right in line with what they've been doing. The guy I learned this from, a friend of mine now, Zachary K Hubbard, who had a YouTube channel with over 58,000 subscribers. He put a video that I created up on his channel in December of this past year where I decoded an NFL football game and showed just how scripted these games are. I mean, to the second on the clock, to the yard on the field. And, this video I'm sure it had thousands of views, but as I've revealed on my channel, YouTube view counts sometimes freeze. I think they changed the formula that calculates what a real view is. And the stats are completely fake is what it comes down to. And then you have all these sock accounts. So on that Barcelona attack video, when I was looking at the video throughout the day, it was just horrible comments that were coming in, like personally attacking me. And I'm like, what is, nobody is saying these are coincidence. None of the comments said, everything you're revealing is just coincidence. You can do anything with numbers. Nobody said that. They were saying, you're obviously a virgin who's never had sex. That's one thing they like to say. They said, I hope your family gets run over by a van, that kind of thing. I mean, just horrible comments. Yeah. And we can watch this later, but
that's YouTube for you, basically. I mean, we've had two comments, and one was you guys are dumb cunts, and one it was like you guys are fucking retards. So.
Right. Well, this was so out of line with my other videos, though, when you look at the comment section on those, that there was a clear assault by a troll gang, essentially, after me on this video. It's the same thing that happens on Reddit, too. They come in, they downvote your Eclipse. I mean, I posted a link to Signs of Time on there, and within like 4 minutes, it had 4 downvotes. Because I mentioned Freemasons or something.
But you can buy bots on Twitter,
right,
to like have them fuck with you or boost your post or whatever. I didn't know that.
Huh.
Oh yeah, you can go in
and do
and
that with YouTube then.
YouTube and Reddit. Yeah, there's accounts for sale. I mean, if you have thousands of posts and hundreds of thousands of karma points, that's worth a lot of money nowadays. Because you can post a link to an article and be viewed. The algorithms behind Reddit that display posts at the top will.
It's like Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, I mean it's
you pay for your post to go first.
Sure, exactly. So ultimately, you have whoever has the money behind this, or whoever has the resources, can really manipulate anything that's going on here. So in the case of YouTube, think about how they channel their money based on who's getting the most views. Well, if those view counts are fake, that's similar to money laundering. And I think that's probably what's going on with a lot of these channels, because no matter what I put out, no matter how big my videos get, my view counts go down. I mean, when I had 400 subscribers, I was getting 400, 500, 600 views within a few hours. I now have 2,700 subscribers, as I just showed you. My view counts are lower now. 24 hours, I get 500 to 600 views, and it's just like something's wrong here. It's the same thing that happened to Hubbard's channel, too, and his channel got taken down. It got struck from a video from 96 weeks ago. Whoa, I just bumped that.
That's okay.
Got a little excited. Freemason and English Ordinal, 96. It was 96 weeks to the day later. They struck a video and thus axed his whole channel with 58,000 subscribers. And then, funny it was at 58,000. Freemasonry equals 58 as well. So, and then he's been trying to put new channels out saying, all right, this is my new one, subscribe to this channel. They just keep taking it down one after the other. I'd say about 8 or 9 of his channels. In fact, another channel, since the video I put out last night complaining about it, another one was taken down. And they're doing it by the numbers. He'll talk about the Bavarian Illuminati in one video. He kind of said it half jokingly, Illuminati confirmed, but that's what's happening, right? But this was it. The Bavarian Illuminati 221. They axed his channel at 2:21 in the morning.
Wait, I'm confused. How are you, how does 58 equal Freemason?
We kind of skipped ahead, didn't we?
We skipped way ahead. you do keep mentioning 2 numbers, though. 13, that was the day me and Carrie were married on. I have it tattooed on me. And 33, this is actually episode 33.
I love it. Because thank you so that works out perfectly. Look at my date on the right, my birth date 6/4/85. I have birth numerology of 33.
Wait. So you have
so let's explain the math parts, because that's where I get really hung up on. I'm terrible at math. I took basic algebra all the way till I graduated.
Okay, well, real quick, Sean, before we oh my goodness. Okay. The word 33 in Gematria, look at this. In trigonal is 1,444.
What's trigonal?
Yeah. This is a cipher where, instead of using the alphabetic order, all the ciphers are built off of this alphabetic order, by the way, which I'm going to expand here. And what you do is just apply a number to each letter in the alphabet relative to its position. A equals 1, B equals 2, all the way to Z, which equals 26, the 26th and final letter in the alphabet.
Yeah.
So if I'm to write the word the, T-H-E, T, the 20th letter, H, the 8th, E, the 5th letter, add those together, 20 plus 8 plus 5,
so
33. So the word the is 33. Think about how we end our prayers.
I had to do that on my fingers.
That was pretty good. Amen. Look at this.
Okay, so I still don't get what does trigomal mean and primes and Jewish. I take as a Jewish language.
Well, yeah, it's derived off of the Latin order, but once we understand English ordinal, right, then we can look at the next cipher, which is reverse ordinal. Okay, and this is exactly what it sounds like. Think about how...
So 26 is A...
Exactly.
Okay.
Think about how people, just play their records backwards to hear satanic messages.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Where did you learn all of this? I've never even seen these words before.
Sure. Well, it's funny because when I was a kid, I remember actually introducing myself to people as 43. And, the word Derek in English language is 43 because I was just hey.
Wasn't it yours, TJ? No, you're 44.
Yeah,
T-Mac 44,
yeah,
that was his license plate.
Oh, nice.
Because his football number was 44.
All right.
Sure. So I always remembered that, but then I came across a YouTube channel because around 2015, I started looking at the news with a more critical eye. It was all sparked specifically by the Charleston church shooting, where I was watching the footage of the arrest and this kid who just seemed like he was acting, and he was, the guards that were around him. It just felt like a movie scene. Nothing about it seemed real. And I looked into a couple videos on YouTube, figuring, well, the news isn't going to give me the real truth. I mean, I already know that. Ever since 2004, when the election in Ohio was clearly stolen from Kerry, and he didn't even care. He conceded the next day. Oh, by the way, they're both in the Skull and Bones secret society, as was revealed by Tim Russert, who later died a few years after mentioning that to both men. Yeah.
Isn't he also related to Obama and Bush?
Well, I forget the exact relation. I know Obama and Hillary are ninth cousins, if I remember, or maybe that was Bush and Obama. But either way, I mean, you're talking about royal bloodlines tracing back to Western Europe back in the 1600s. You find that they all trace back to duchesses and dukes, and they just descended, and it's the same people pretty much running the show these days. And they don't go very far outside of the family when it comes to high political offices. So in this search through YouTube, I ended up coming across a channel named Zachary K Hubbard. And it took me a while of watching his videos because he was teaching this gematria, and he was basically teaching just these 2 basic ciphers, full reduction and English ordinal. And full reduction...
What does ordinal mean?
Ordinal is just the alphabetic order. So as I was saying, A1 through Z is 26. And then this is the reduced cipher. And let me explain how this works. So we have A through I, 1 through 9, just as they are in the alphabetic order. What changes is when we get to J, because that's the 10th letter. But in reduction, we reduce every number to a single digit prior to adding it to the equation. So the letter J becomes 1 plus 0 is 1. So J gets assigned 1. K is the 11th letter. 1 plus 1 for 11 equals 2. So before we add the number to the equation, we'll reduce it. And this applies all the way through S, 19th letter, 1 plus 9 equals 10, 1 plus 0 equals 1. And you do this for the entire alphabet. And what you notice then is that any word in the reduction will match the reduced value of English ordinal. So see this number below where it says the 43 in English ordinal for Derek?
Yeah.
What that is 4 plus 3 equals 7. And it's the same down here for full reduction. 2 plus 5 equals 7. So no matter what, you're always going to have the same number between full reduction and English ordinal.
We had some technical difficulties there. We're back. Sorry. Where were we, Derek?
So we were just discussing the relationship between the full reduction and English ordinal ciphers, where we have the alphabetic order and then the reduced order. Now, this same function applies to the reverse order. So if we look at the reverse ordinal cipher, if we use Derek, now it's 23 plus 22 plus 9. The equation gets a little larger. So ultimately, here we see it sums to 92. And underneath these numbers, I have the breakdown section too, where you can click the header and get the equation.
Yeah, it shows the math for the teacher.
This is making my brain spin.
We're only getting started.
Oh, great.
So, but we'll make it simple enough for you to understand. So
I saw, or I heard one on a podcast. The guy took it and he I think it was every 7 letters it started going in reverse. So it's 1 through 7.
That's septenary.
That's what?
This is a cipher that Marty leads, who is a shill on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah, Marty leads. He was on a podcast I'm not going to name because I'm not affiliated with him.
Yeah, we have a couple of videos out on him. He's telling us that septenary is the only cipher to use, which I will show you today is completely ridiculous.
Okay.
But he does share tidbits of interesting information. He'll show a little bit, but he doesn't ever touch these English ordinal ciphers because they don't want you to really see what's happening. So this septenary cipher is exactly that. You see it goes up 1 through 7, back down to 1. And then, in fact, I have
M is 1.
Who comes up with these things?
Well, this is how the language was built. I mean, it's mathematicians, builders.
But who decided that it was going to be 1 through 7 and then it was going to go down or whatever it is?
I think it's because it's something that works numerically within the 26-letter alphabet. Because our alphabet is 26 letters, there's a certain symmetry between the English ordinal and the reverse ordinal ciphers. So allow me to show you here. This is actually perfect. Well, I'm trying to get a non-master number.
I kind of feel like I'm having nightmares of being in math class right now. Next thing I'm going to be being asked equations. I'm going to be
All right, so here's Sean's name. And using the alphabetic order, it sums to 149. This number, 1 plus 4 plus 9, equals 14. 1 plus 4 equals 5. You see it reduces to 5. In the reverse order, it sums to 202. Now, these two numbers underneath these reductions must always sum to 9. So no matter what I do, 5 plus 4 equals 9. I can add any letter after this or just any other word, and it's always going to add up to 9. The only time when these numbers are going to be the same, these bottom ones, are when that number is 9. It has to be 9. And that's a result of our alphabet being 26 letters. So, the letter A, 1 plus 26 equals 27. B, 2 plus 25 equals 27. There's always the 27, and 27 reduces to 9. So it's just a law of numerology.
I see.
Could it just be a pattern? Humans are naturally, we find patterns. You look at the clouds, you're
inclined to find how things connect in the universe.
I would say that's what kind of got my eye into this in the first place, because
patterns
and synchronicities that just don't seem coincidental, and that's what this is really all about, is looking at it with a critical eye and saying, okay, there's no way this is a coincidence. There appears to be some sort of design behind this.
I feel like humans in general, just like they always want an explanation or a reasoning for things. So like it's almost like I wonder if, not that I'm disputing what this is, I'm just saying in general, like people are always, want to figure out a reason why.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people who are into this study who I will caution are very they're a little too far into it as far as what it all reveals, I think. So, they'll put in like, I had this for breakfast or whatever, and they'll look at the gematria of that, and it's like, I don't think that means anything, when you run those numbers necessarily.
Yeah, I read an article about a guy that basically finding like his name and the gematria for that, and how many times like I think Jesus was used in the Bible,
sure,
and his birthday, which correlates with when Jesus was actually born, like June 26th or 23rd or something like that. Like he thought that he was a prophet.
Well, that's a perfect example of someone going a little too far with it, and that's not to say that, you can't predict things and discover things with this knowledge. Zach Hubbard, whose YouTube channel got deleted back in October before Super Bowl 50, based on what was going on in the news and the type of news articles that were coming out, there was a news article where some guy lost control of his car, got ejected from his car, and then landed on a road sign overpass, like on the freeway. Totally BS story, like completely garbage.
Sounds like Deadpool.
But it was a coded story that was a hint for the Super Bowl, and he used it to basically predict what was going to happen. And what he said is that it's going to be Panthers-Broncos, and the Broncos are going to win, and Von Miller will be the MVP, and there will be a Black Panther tribute at halftime. Sure enough, Beyonce did the halftime show, and she came out with her Black Panther dancers, and they did that, and we were like, well, he knows what's going on here. And it's more than just predicting the games. I mean, any game you dissect, especially the big ones, there's always some sort of wild number synchronicity to the point where it's like, clearly there's software programs that are doing this scripting because it's just too deep. I mean,
so
I guess
you could use this to totally win at fantasy football then.
Well, and I didn't do enough study before drafting my team this year, but I did bench a guy. Well, no, I'm serious. Listen, I need
to pull up my.
So listen to this, right? I benched a guy. I have an NFL decoder on my website, by the way. This is for numbers nerds like myself. So let me show you an example of why I benched somebody on a given day, right? So I had this Jacksonville Jaguars player named Allen Robinson, and let me find Robinson.
Me and Carrie don't watch football, so this is for TJ and Adam. Who's
no
probably
idea
listening.
what these words are. That
Hope you're listening, Adam. Hi.
So you can change how you measure to and from their birthdays. And from Robinson's birthday to his next birthday, this is a different Robinson, it was 11 months and 14 days. And this is a number I talk about in my videos on YouTube.
11-14?
Yes, 11-14 and 14-11. And 14 times 11 equals 154, just like 22 times 7. We'll talk about 22-7 shortly here.
Okay.
And so there's this synchronicity between those numbers, and 154 is a number that's stamped on death a lot. This is just something I've discovered, it's undeniable, the things I've uncovered as far as what 154 means and its relevance. So I said, okay, it's 11 months, 14 days before his birthday. I'm going to bench him, even though he's projected for 5 more points than Frank Gore, who I ended up putting in. And that day, he tore his ACL. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then you type in ACL, and in the square number cipher, it sums to 154. So here I found this 154 sync, and I said, I better not play that guy. And he tore his ACL by the numbers. So, I mean, I don't know if all the injuries that happen in the NFL are real in the first place. I don't think they are. But, regardless of whether or not it happened by the numbers. And I kind of saw a hint of it, but I didn't predict ACL injury. But sure enough, there it is. And this square number cipher, let me explain this while we're at it. So like I said...
Can you use that for like UFC or wrestling?
I believe so.
UFC is real as opposed to WWE, which is scripted, but I know you can still bet on wrestling.
I was waiting for Derek to say that.
As far as we know. I haven't watched it closely.
There was a guy in Korea that got busted for throwing a fight not too long ago in UFC.
Sure.
Fucking Koreans, I swear to God.
Someone told me that it was recently reclassified as entertainment or something, but I'm not...
MMA.
I don't have enough knowledge on that. Yeah. I don't have enough knowledge on it, so I can't say. But this square number, so like I said, there's different ciphers in this language, and all of this is originated from the Hebrew alphabet. And in Hebrew, they used 10 base ciphers. I'm not able to list them all off the top of my head, but one of the ciphers they use is where you square each number before adding it to the equation. So before, we reduced each number to a single digit first. Well, now we're going to multiply each number by itself before adding it to the equation. So 1, A, 1 times 1 is 1. B, 2 times 2 is 4. So B is worth 4. You go all the way up to P, 16 squared is 256. So any time there's a P in the word, you add 256. And this is like the biggest cipher. It's a huge cipher. So that's why something like ACL equals 154. I mean, you just don't get small numbers.
Why do you need so many different decoders?
Yeah, and
shouldn't
couldn't
just
there
see more
be
letters.
even more? I mean, if there's already this many, couldn't there...
Absolutely. There's a book that says that there's over 200 ciphers in use in the English language.
Christ.
My website has like 27, I think. And, there are definitely more I'm aware of that I'm not adding to this website because...
Don't you think, though, with that many, though, that you're going to find something...
Exactly. Yes, because... And that's what I'm saying. It's like, if I turn all my ciphers on here and zoom out a little bit so you can see, I mean, I got a lot, right? There's like all these. And granted, they're going to be in different number ranges. So my name, there's reduction ciphers where they're
something
small.
that matches.
Yeah.
Right, matches up with something in your life.
It's like what's that magic trick where you can guess the number that someone's thinking by having them multiply by 7 and then divide by something and add this and then subtract that.
And there's another one, too, where they come up and they say, give me a 2-digit number where both digits are the same or not the same between, what is it?
1 and 50 or something.
Yeah, he only gives you like 8 numbers to choose from, and everyone chooses 37. It's like 50% of the people choose 37, and
I heard that one.
They only air the ones where he's right, of course.
Yeah.
So what I stress, and because, of course, you can make connections with some of these ciphers that I don't even understand how are constructed personally, so that's why I advise people to stick with English ordinal, the alphabetic order, the reverse order, and the reduction ciphers, along with, full reduction and reverse reduction. Those are the first 4. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
And that alone is going to reveal so much to you. For instance, you know how the United States of America was built with 13 colonies?
Yeah.
We had 13 stars. It's always 13. Well, United States of America in Gematria is 99 full reduction. When you write out the number 13, it too sums to 99. Also notice this 45 and 117.
Can you zoom back in?
Yes, sorry. Think about where the 2 eclipses are crossing paths in Illinois.
Yeah, Egypt or Little Egypt.
Little Egypt, but the state is Illinois that they cross. Illinois equals 45 and 99. It's been 99 years since the last coast-to-coast eclipse that went from, the west coast all the way through to the east coast. And there's a lot of gematria regarding this too. I mean, let's look at total eclipse, right? Because there are all kinds of solar eclipses. We have partials, we have annular solar eclipses, but total eclipse is the real shebang. I saw this myself. My buddy and I drove down to southern Illinois to get to the path of totality, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. So in gematria, total eclipse has this value of 137 in the alphabetical order. And what's special about this number is that it's the 33rd prime number, right? So
episode 33.
And here we are in episode 33, which is perfect, which I will show you again in a little bit. But anyways, so think about where the eclipse started, up in the west coast, up in the state of Oregon. Oregon, if you did not know, is the 33rd state to be admitted to the Union.
I didn't know that. Did you know that, TJ?
No.
In fact, OR, its abbreviation in gematria, sums to 33. It's also the only state that sums to 74 when written out, and this is probably the most significant. Gematria is 74. We're talking English, 74. Gematria is a Jewish practice, 74. Remember how Jesus, his name's 74, died on the cross, 74. He was the Messiah, 74. They did the Gospels, 74 as well.
But who would go through and figure all of this out? Be like, this all needs to amount to 74, or is it just coincidental that all those words?
Well, yeah, it's not a coincidence. I mean, you can. I have not developed some sort of mathematical algorithm that really analyzes this and sees the connections, but It's pretty wild. I mean, think about the fact that in the Talmud, there is a Baba Kamal 113a in which it says it's okay to lie to circumvent a Gentile, which is a non-Jew, something they call a goy.
What is this in?
This is in the Talmud, which is their current holy book.
For what
the one
religion?
after the Torah. Judaism.
Oh.
Yeah. And in that, so that verse is 113a. Well, look at the word dishonest in English ordinal, 113. This is fiction, reverse ordinal, 113. Also, not honest, 113. Disinfo, 113. How about bullshit, 113. Politics. I mean, politics is nothing but a show. That's 113.
What about cocksucker?
They use a green screen, 113, to do the news in the mainstream, 113. And when do they air the news? The evening, 113. So this is how our language is built. It's built around this Talmudic code in which they basically establish rules that say it's okay to lie in order to circumvent the Gentile. And they say that applies only in a legal setting, but this entire country is a legal setting. So
is this only then in English, that the English language, that all of that amounts to 113? Like, have you tried doing it in other languages?
Well, Hebrew, right?
Hebrew is the language that I've done the most work in myself. There are people who have begun contributing, particularly German. My goodness, the German the word 777, when written out, sums to 314 in both languages. Those are the first three digits of pi, 3.14. That, to me, is not a coincidence right there. I mean, we already see this in the English language. So what I would want to show to you guys, though, is a little bit about how this works, where this, starts, okay? And it all starts with the circle. Think about the mathematics of the circle. You have the number pi, which is just this infinite string of numbers.
Yeah.
Who knows where the accuracy ends and who knows where the coding begins, perhaps?
I don't even understand how you get it. I just know you type it in a calculator.
Right. You can use most calculators have a pi key. If you're on, and listen here, if you're on a Windows computer and you want to get the pi symbol, you hit Alt, you hold the Alt key and do 227. So let me show you. 227, I'm holding Alt, there you go. It's the pi symbol.
Huh.
And there's a reason for that. When you
Gematria reason?
Gematria and math, when you look at 22 divided by 7 on a calculator, you get a very close approximation of pi, 3.1429. So 3.1415 is pi, but this number is within 1/800th of pi. It's very close. You can use this when you're building stuff, 22 divided by 7. So that's pretty cool, right? But what if I do this? 22 divided by 7. It sums to 314 in the English ordinal. These are the first three digits of pi, 3.14. Not only that, but in reverse ordinal, it sums to 307. Look at the 307th prime number. It's 2027, like 227. When you do this equation, you get 360 degrees in a circle. 360 equals 227 in the alphabetic order. Notice also how it sums to 88, reverse full reduction. Think about how 88 has 4 circles inside of it. How many degrees are in 4 circles? Well, you're using 360. 360 times 4 equals 1,440. That's how many minutes are in a day.
So what does that mean?
So that means to me that mathematics, not only responsible for building the skyscrapers around us, and by the way, the word skyscraper, if I
that's
spell
all.
it right,
I feel like this is a podcast my dad needs to listen to with all his
the word skyscraper, look at that.
mathematical
Look at
notes.
that art, 135, forwards and backwards. What about the word love? How beautiful is this? 18, 18, 54, 54.
Are there any words that equal, all 4 of them are the same?
It would have to be, no, because English ordinal and reverse ordinal are never going to be the same unless, you can't get all 4 to be the same, no.
Oh, bastards. There's got to be a cheat code.
I know, there's no way to get 33 in both of these ciphers either because they both reduce to 6, and those two numbers have to add to 9. 6 plus 6 equals 12, which reduces to 3, so anyway, I mean, this goes a lot deeper. I have a presentation on YouTube. It's 25 minutes where it runs through equations such as 22 divided by 7, and it shows you how our language was built on this system, this code, and how it applies every bit in the news today. And what this all boils down to is Saturn worship. believe it or not, I mean, this never ended, and it sounds crazy.
Oh,
Wait,
wait.
I thought our language stemmed from Latin.
Well, it did, and that's where Jewish gematria originates. So if you don't mind me taking just a quick second to look at this cipher.
Yeah, then I want to get right back to that Saturn worship. I got to figure that out.
For sure. So, in the Latin alphabet, notice here the J is worth 600. Well, J was not
why?
a letter in the original alphabet for Latin.
I don't understand these
why'd you give it 600?
numbers.
So the original Latin alphabet went A through I. They did not have J. It went K and then all the way through U, and then X, Y, Z. And this is out of order. I have a better picture here, I bet.
Yeah, how do they count past their alphabet?
That's Jewish ordinal. Well, this is the same order. So, just the original Latin alphabet. I mean, I can look it up on Wikipedia, but it was 22 or 23 letters. I think it was 23. And like I said, J was not a letter. V was a letter. However, it was a vowel at the time. And W was not in the alphabet either. So these letters were added at the end after Latin was modernized. And forgive me for not having a wider knowledge on the history of Latin, but...
No, it's fine. I don't know shit about Latin.
So, yeah, we get through Z as 23 as the last letter, and then J was added. And then V became U and a vowel, and then V moved to the end. They also had an ampersand in the language, too, so that's taken into account. And
Ampersand?
Ampersand, the
The
and
and symbol.
the and symbol.
Oh.
Where I don't understand where all this information stems from. Like, how did you learn about this weird alphabet thing?
The
A
guy's
lot of
YouTube
reading.
channel.
Well, yeah, that's where it started.
that,
But
that weird alphabet that you just had up with the ampersand.
I mean, there's
thing.
a lot of websites that are dedicated to this. I mean, if you type in Jewish gematria, in fact, there's one of the gematria calculators that existed before mine was gematrix.org.
Yeah, I think I went there. It wasn't as good.
Oh, it's not even close. I mean,
No,
you got to type
it was
out
terrible.
the word, and
It
it
didn't
doesn't
have any matches. I like yours.
It
has
does,
matches.
but it's terrible. Like, look at this.
Yeah,
My name.
Fuck those guys.
My name. Look at that. Holocaust. The first thing that comes up. Come on.
You're not even Jewish, are you?
I'm 25% Jewish, actually. So
Oh,
a
I
part
won't
of
hold
this,
it against you.
a part of this is in my blood. And what happened is my grandpa basically knocked up my grandmother, and she was like 14 years older than him. And then he ran off back to the East Coast and never came back.
Was one German and one Jewish? That'd be that's a true love story right there.
I know. And I hear it's like a Romeo and Juliet thing.
Yeah, you are.
And so I'm this German Jewish. You talk about inner conflict. My goodness. So it's all about Saturn, and Saturn is the keeper of time.
Okay.
So
Is that in mythology or
yeah,
the actual planet? What are we talking about?
the Saturn was known as the bookend of time. Saturn and the Sun.
Is this in
Because
like Greek or Hebrew? Or
It's
what?
it traces even further back before I would say Greek and Hebrew. I mean, you're talking about the Chaldean, Mesopotamian. Well, that was later, but very ancient Egyptian cultures up with this. Oh, excellent, thank you. And
We're opening beers. We're getting into Saturn. We're opening beers.
oh man, I love it.
We're gonna get some tinfoil hats on, take some red pills. We're gonna go down a fucking rabbit hole right now. I can't wait.
I love it, dude. I'm so happy to be here too. And so, before I forget, this whole thing with episode 33, this blows my mind.
Okay.
Blows my mind. Let's look at trigonal gematria. This uses triangular numbers. I'm already slurring my speech. Holy cow.
What is triangular numbers?
So yeah, and this is awesome. Triangular numbers are actually like my favorite to teach. So what it is earlier we multiplied the number by itself before adding it to the equation.
Swearing.
I
Now we
tripling
add.
it.
You see it already, right?
Yeah.
The pattern. You just add every number before it plus itself, and so B is 1 + 2 = 3. C 1 + 2 + 3 = 6. Let's think bowling pins.
Yeah.
For each row you add, that's how the value increases.
Did you come up with this name? Trigo?
No, and let me explain to you why I think it's called trigonal and not triangular. Triangular does not have this interesting gematria, really. However, trigonal using Jewish gematria equals 307, and Freemason equals 307. And, Freemasonry, 787, is very much involved in encryption in the English language. And when I spell that right, there we go. Encryption, 787, Jewish gematria. So it's a Freemasonry built language. I mean, this traces hundreds of years back.
I still feel like I'm going back to where it just seems as though it could, like, some of the stuff that you're saying is like, whoa, but like the whole pi thing, that's really interesting. But then some of this other stuff, I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's cool, but is it just coincidental that just is the way it is? Because there's so many different things that you're showing, you know?
Well, I mean, we do have 4 ciphers, and it looks like there's a lot of values. And I want to stress that there's these numerological laws that relate all these ciphers. So, you know, you can only get so many different combinations with different letters and phrases of different lengths. And I, too, when I came across this knowledge, I was very skeptical. I mean, anybody with the brain looks at this stuff and thinks, okay, we're turning words into numbers, and we're saying those numbers are the same, so that means something. I mean,
no, I think
it sounds nuts.
No,
it does.
I think
I thought it did.
At first, it sounded nuts, but now that you're explaining it, like I'm understanding it, but I'm still questionable of
because you're a healthy mind. Because that's fine. You're not like, oh, cool, like this is how everything is. Throw my name in there. What do I equal? You know what I mean? So
I did my name. I felt some fun.
I am curious though to know what my name would be, but then again,
we'll get to that. I still want to hear about Saturn.
Oh yeah.
But before we do, 33 using triangular numbers equals 1,444.
What does that mean?
How many days, Sean, are between my birthday and your birthday? 1,444.
Wow.
So this stuff is very real. Like when I talk about the organic side of this, we're discovering something that's coding the underbelly of our reality. And if that sounds wild, like I said, it should. However, this knowledge is not out yet. This is new. This is something that we have just recently discovered. To the extent that things are coded is just mind-blowing. Let me give you an example. We talked about 227 and how important that was. Well, I made a discovery a while ago about the planet Saturn, right? And Saturn equals 93 in English ordinal.
Okay.
And I went on Google because I found something out that just made me think this whole NASA Cassini mission was bullshit.
My full name is also 93 in the reverse.
Exactly. I know. I was going to point that out. So I typed in Cassini bullshit, and it's no longer on top. But the first link was this blog, and I recognized the guy who ran the blog because he commented on one of my YouTube videos. So I reached out to him, and I said, dude, I found this crazy thing where the word over easy, why do we call eggs over easy? Well, it's because in Jewish gematria, it sums to 1331. This is 11 cubed. Very significant number. A number that connects you two, by the way.
What does that have to do with over easy eggs?
And then how does that connect us?
Think about... well, I'll show you how it connects you, but... so
over easy eggs connects us.
Well, think about 33. 11 plus 11 plus 11, right? And when you multiply these numbers, 11 times 11 times 11, it sums to 1331. And what's so special about this number is look at the 1,331st prime number is 10,957. This is the exact number of days in 30 years. And Saturn's orbital period is 10,759 days. You're just switching the 7 and the 9.
Okay, wait.
What does that have to do with over easy eggs?
Are you still explaining how this has to do with over easy eggs?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Yeah, absolutely. So, and this is very important. When we type out the number 133, look at Jewish gematria, 1331.
That's how much Adam weighs. 113.
Our friends got married on 11/11/11.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And look at that, 331. So the two numbers that make up that number are built in through gematria. So this is very significant. And when I found out over easy was 1331, it instantly struck me because here I was cooking the eggs up and you got the yolk, that's like the planet, and then you have the white around it, like the rings of the planet. And I said, oh my goodness, now it makes sense. This is a Saturnian tribute. And the reason I looked at this is because NASA had this ridiculous picture where I said, I know this has to be fake. They posted this picture of a moon. This moon, they said they called it. Yeah, they called it over easy. Look at this, the headline, Prometheus over easy. And they give us this bullshit CGI image of a moon that looks like an egg. And this date that it was published on had 1331 numerology. So, obviously this is a lie. And I reached out to my buddy and I said, dude, well, he wasn't my buddy at the time. I just said, hey, look what I found with Saturn. And like I said, Saturn equals 93. It turns out that measuring between my birthday and his birthday, it's 9 years and 3 months. Or also 93 days between our birthdays. And I was like, what is up with that? So I made this project called Signs of Time. Do you have a question, Carrie? Go ahead.
This is like too many numbers being thrown around.
That's fine. So we're going to continue. So
why do people care about a planet?
Well, so there's mathematics behind Saturn that relate it to the moon.
Okay.
So let me pull up my slide here from...
But the moon was just a projection.
There's something up with the moon, man. I don't know what that thing is.
I'm still confused how
sun.
1331
How come sometimes you can see clouds behind the sun?
Whatever.
Well, I just showed in Gematria. Over easy. See? Equals 1331.
Do the breakdown.
Okay.
Oops. This breakdown
You
here.
got to show your work.
Sure, yeah. So 50
I'm a
plus
very
700.
visual learner, so yeah.
So am I. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just pretending.
Right on. I mean, here's your
I
equation.
genuinely am interested in knowing
me
what
too.
you're talking about. And I'm
I just
trying hard to follow along despite all these numbers being thrown around. My brain has a hard
So
time
here guys.
with numbers.
Carolyn Renee Jansen, right?
Yeah, or well, Jansen's my maiden name. Yeah.
And Sean Aaron McGregor.
Yeah.
Wow, you even knew how to spell my name. I'm impressed.
1331 prime numbers. See that?
1331.
This number connects you to. And the reason, look at this. What's
We're
creepy about
married on
this?
the
we should have been married on 11/11/11 then.
Well, here's what. Think about this. We got married on the 13th, but we also wanted to get married on the 31st.
This is true.
October.
Initially,
Halloween.
we were going to get married on the 31st.
So the fact that your two names combined equals 1331 blows me away. Not just for this reason, but your name alone, Carrie, equals 729. This is the same value in the trigonal cipher as full circle, 729. The Freemasons love this number. Freemason is 729.
Shit.
And in octal,
Wait,
in the octal numbering
married
system,
a Freemason?
Yeah, you married a Freemason.
729 in the octal numbering system is 1331.
What does this all mean about my name? And
Yeah,
who
what
I
does that
am?
mean about my wife?
She's
Is she
Freemason.
crazy?
Yeah.
It means
She's
you
gonna
guys.
kill you.
I thought when I was looking at the numbers that connect you two guys, I was just like, this
Are we meant
was
to be?
meant to be. I mean, I'm looking at Jansen McGregor, right?
That means that Sean and I are meant to be.
I don't know, maybe. Look at Jansen McGregor, 229. See how it's 229 reverse
Oh my
order?
God.
Let me find the date calculator. I know it's here somewhere. So Sean, measuring from your last birthday before Carrie was born, right? To 25, it was an 87,
He was
right?
born in 81.
Yeah, the last one.
I know,
before
but
you were born.
It's
okay.
The number of days between our birthdays seem to connect us, and it seems to be so even within the same year.
Okay.
So your birthdays are 229 days apart. Jansen McGregor in Gematria, reverse order, sums to 229.
Boom.
Or we can say
I own you.
Sean and Carrie, English ordinal equals 136. If we measure to your next birthday, it's 136 days. So there's some type of numerical vibe, and I found a lot more too. I mean,
Could that be why
Are
we
there-
are attracted to each other in the first place? Maybe it was
Yes.
our
The
math and
the
not our
stars have
bodies.
aligned.
yeah,
And are there other people though that this happens to? Like, is
everybody's coded. Yep, absolutely.
But I mean,
I'll
like,
show
are
mine, too.
other people like if you were to do
Like TJ and Carrie.
Well, how about we
Yeah.
predict my future?
Oh, I wish.
yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I wish I was that good.
no, because that would be bad.
TJ single, ladies.
We'd
Yeah.
have to seek that.
We have like a couple dozen people trying to figure out thousands of years of esoteric knowledge that's been hidden from the masses.
What's esoteric?
Esoteric means, hidden.
Okay.
Something very specialized, very specific. I also want to point out, Carrie, what tripped me out about your name. Carolyn Renee Jansen in Jewish Gematria sums to 2015. What year did you get married in? 2015. And look at this in Chaldean. Your name is 72. And by the way, Sean, and Carrie, in caps lock, but Sean and Carrie, 72, reverse full reduction. You guys got married on the 72nd day of the year. Also, the word marriage in Gematria equals 72. This date leaves 293 days.
I might sound crazy, but this is maybe blowing my mind a little bit.
I'm not done. Okay, so let's go back to Sean's actual birthday of 1981 and just measure the weeks. You guys were born 293 weeks apart. Your marriage date left 293 days in the year. And when we type out your names together, Sean McGregor if I can type, and Carrie Jansen, it sums to 293, and your birthday is 293 weeks apart. So I'm not lying.
This is so weird. I want to do this with like a different couple though. To see
Okay, well, let's look at my parents.
There's.
You want to see some crazy stuff with my folks?
Yeah.
I don't even need all these ciphers.
Well, wait. I want to see though two people that didn't work out.
What'd you do, Carrie
Do
and
they
PJ?
match
I haven't found them yet. Everyone I've decoded has had these wild synchronicities.
Even people that don't work out.
No, I haven't. Like I said, I haven't done that many decodes. But like just this past week, my boss came to me and my boss said, "Hey, I got a gematria question for you." I was like, "Bring it on!" And he gave me his sister's name and birthday, and the birthday and name of the man she was marrying. And I found out that Joni Hunt and Patrick Rice in gematria equals 289. Their birthdays are 289 days apart. When they get married, in one of these other ciphers, her new name will sum to 289. It went on and on. Like her birth numerology, 69 and 15. Their birthdays were 69 months, 15 days apart. It went on and on. Like I couldn't find the bottom of it. It just kept going. I had to stop myself because I just
So
It's too much.
Could you like do like me and TJ or me and you, like in terms of if our like me and someone else's numbers?
You
would
mentioned
match
Sean
up?
equals 72. I didn't even mention that.
what does
Anyways,
that mean?
I was just talking about those 72s earlier that
Oh.
seems to be connecting you guys. Like
Well,
you couldn't have gotten married on a better date.
So
In fact, okay, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just trying to make sense of it all. So, like, most of this shit is like, you know, you can use it to find out that the government is causing hurricanes to kill people. How does that equal me and Carrie being a match? Like, how does that
That's
all
a
tie
great
together?
question.
Yeah,
With-
couldn't it be more so like we're like meant to like be a disaster?
That's a great question. And, you know, look, me, myself, doing this research, I'm trying to find where that line exists, where it's the organic side of this, and where is people knowing about this and trying to manipulate it
Yeah.
or trying to play off of it. They definitely are doing that to some
Or
extent.
your brain just piecing all this together,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
like
Like,
making it.
we are at a point now, like as a species maybe, where we're like able to kind of see this underlying computer code that writes our reality.
The Matrix.
The Matrix, as has
simulation
been.
theory?
Well, simulation theory is something I'm kind of big on, yeah, because...
Well, we had a podcast about that.
Did you? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
What is consciousness? Get this.
Another Derek.
Mm-hmm. I think he spells it the same too.
Good, he's a good man. Look at this, though. My dad's name, Richard, in reduction is 43.
You spell your name with a C and a K?
Nope, Derek,
No, just a K.
Derek,
Oh,
English
Derek.
ordinal, 43.
My colleague spells it with a C and a K.
He spells it wrong then, apparently.
Yep.
Sorry, Derek, if
He
you're
does.
listening.
A lot of people tell that about your name, Sean.
Or Sean McDonald spells his name wrong. Fucker.
But Sean
See
McDonald
you.
says you spell your name wrong.
Yeah, what does he know?
This Derek, it's 41, the 13th prime number right there, so you got that
Well,
going for it.
no. He's. I mean, I don't know if we should be talking about but Derek, my colleague, he's Dereck.
Okay, that's...
How do you spell your name?
Mine is
No C.
Derek, just the 5 letters, the simple way.
Oh,
So this is
okay.
43, and my dad and I, both of us growing up, our nickname was Tick, which is also 43. So we had that going for us. And then this year, I bought a house, and I mentioned to my brother how I bought this house, and it's closing, and I'm going to be moving in right before my 32nd birthday. And in single reduction, where we only reduce that S once instead of twice, so 1 plus 9 equals 10, we keep it there. That's called single reduction. In that cipher, house equals 32. 2 days later, we got a call from the tenants, and they said they needed 3 extra days of residency, which means all of a sudden now I moved in on my birthday. So, and 32 is what I always wore growing up, playing sports, because it's a power of 2. It's 2 to the 5th. Everything had to be done in powers of 2 as a
you've
kid.
always been into math.
I had obsessive compulsive disorder very badly when I was a kid. So like when I was 8 or 9 years old, if I was flipping a light switch, if it didn't feel right, I would have to flip it like 2 times,
Yeah.
and then 4 times if that didn't feel right, and then 8, and then 16, and then 32, and then 64, and 128. I'd flip my light switches 512 times in the room.
Then this totally makes sense that you're into this.
Yeah, I don't know. There was something wrong with me, I guess, but
I have OCD, but I just count stuff when I'm doing it.
that's,
I don't know
What
that's
do
why.
you
how
have
my mom does it too.
OCD on?
It
Of
I just said I count stuff when I'm doing it.
what do you
Like,
count?
If I'm like unloading a skid, like by hand boxes, I'm like 1, I'm counting while I'm doing it. Or if I'm going upstairs, I'm like 1, 2, 3. I count while I do stuff.
I wish you would have told me this before we got married.
But I don't have
You
to.
already got the numbers.
But I don't have to do it a certain amount of times. It's just I don't know why. I think the first time I ever heard about OCD and people doing that, I'm like that's weird. And then I'm like brushing my teeth. I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like that's kind of fun.
That is so weird.
I just count in my head. I don't know. I think it's just to keep my
I'm
brain
glad
occupied.
my only OCD is the freaking
Being super clean.
I used to count to 32 each one for all 8 sides. And
Oh.
yeah, I was.
That's way too much.
It's the only way I could do it.
Yeah, that would be OCD. I don't think you counting, Sean, is necessarily OCD. I think
It
that's
gets
just a
really annoying. I'm like,
weird-
why am I counting? I hate math.
Sure. If it's annoying, then it can be classified
Yeah.
as a disorder. I'm sure. I don't know. You probably get some pills for it or something.
No.
No, you better off not taking anything the pharmaceutical company wants to shove down your throat.
We
So-
keep getting off Saturn.
Yeah, and my mom is like a total representation of Saturn. So my mom was born Kathleen Ellen Baer, which is 69 reduction, 93 reverse reduction. Saturn equals 93, 69 in the alphabetic order. 69. Well, anyway, my mom got married, and she changed her last name to Maya Shiba, and then she got remarried to a Tikkuri. And look at her name in Jewish gematria. It's 1331. But there's so much more.
Wow.
So, Kathleen Ellen Tikkuri, when she married my dad, her name now sums to 88, full reduction. Their wedding was 88 days after my dad's birthday. Also, this 119, this is a very significant number, 119. Saturn in Francis Bacon gematria, which accounts for capital letters. Saturn 119 over there. So, and then there's this 223, and this is a number that's significant because of its relationship to the eclipse cycles. So every 223 times the moon spins around the Earth, it reaches the same point at the ecliptic, meaning that we're going to get an eclipse from the same Saros cycle.
What's a sorrow?
A Saros cycle, and it's a span of 18 years and 11 days.
Okay.
So the last time that there was an eclipse from the same Saros cycle that we just had here in America, it was from August 11th, 1999. It was an eclipse that occurred over Europe. So every 18 years and 11 days, that same type of eclipse will occur about a third of the direction across the Earth and a little bit south. So that eclipse moved from Europe, and then we saw one in America. And then we're not going to see an eclipse from that cycle for another
So it have to do with
18 years.
the tilt of the world and everything.
It does, yeah. It's the tilt of the Earth and the moon's orbit around the sun,
Yeah.
and how it's this ovular uneven orbit. But every 223 synodic months, it balances out. It comes to the same spot, and 223 is one of the more significant numbers. Also, in prime numbers, Saturn equals 317, and that's my mom's name in reverse. So she also got married to my dad 10 months, 19 days after her birthday, and in numerology, part of the rules are that zeros are ignored. So, with zeros you can drop, and you've seen the connections I've made. This doesn't really change the significance that much, but technically they don't matter. So for her name to sum to 119 and get married 10 months, 19 days after her birthday, that's significant.
Yeah.
So her name summing to 223, using the octal numbering system where there's no 8s or 9s, we just go from 7 to 10, from 77 to 100, right? That is 337. My name in reverse gematria is 337. See this 130 in reverse reduction? My dad's full name also sums to 130. I bought my house for exactly $130,000, and the address is 1954, the year my dad was born. Also that day.
So how did that all happen though? How did all these, if you want to call them coincidences,
Right.
equations, whatever, how does it all happen? That's what I want to know.
I feel like
love to
though
know.
I still feel though that our brains are making
Looking for
these
mathematical equations.
connections.
Or you just have so many equations that
I want to know about Saturn
happens.
worship.
Look at my dad's name in Francis Bacon,
Yeah,
317. Yeah. Okay, so Saturn and the moon are related. And that sounds weird.
Like
to say.
brother, sister?
Maybe. It's probably like a
Game of
father-son.
Thrones shit?
I'm thinking more of a father-son thing.
Okay.
Who knows? So what people don't realize is that, they call it a coincidence when the moon eclipses the sun. And they're like, wow, what are the odds that this celestial object that's way too large to be orbiting the Earth compared to other moons in the solar system that we know of, what are the odds that this object is just so perfectly sized and just at the perfect distance where sometimes when it covers the sun, it covers the entire sun and we get a total solar eclipse. But other times, if it's a little bit further away from us, all of a sudden now you can see the ring of the sun around the moon. So the odds that that's, our one moon has this characteristic seems astronomical in itself. And what that's a result of is that the width of the moon is about 1/400th the width of the sun. This is first equation I have on the slide here. And from the...
Can you make that a little bigger?
Yeah. Full screen.
We got his laptop hooked up to our TV, but we're all turning our heads. We don't have a professional
give you
setup
guys-
like Joe Rogan.
I'm going to give you guys sore necks. It's going to be great. Okay. So, the width of the sun
Yeah.
is about 1.3 million kilometers, 1.4 million. The width of the moon is only 3,500 kilometers. That's 1/400th the size. Now we're looking at the distance of the moon to the Earth in relation to the sun. And here we see it's about 1/400th the distance to the sun. And this varies, and that's why sometimes it's a total eclipse and sometimes it's annular.
Total eclipse of the heart.
Well, she's coded too. Did you know she was born exactly 33 years to the day after the first total solar eclipse that went through the U.S. in 1918 from coast to coast?
Shit.
Isn't that wild? So anyway, lunar orbital period is 29.5 days. That's how long it takes to get back around to the sun. Saturn's orbital period is 29.5 years. Okay? So what that means is that the moon is spinning around the Earth at the same exact speed as Saturn is spinning around the sun. But it's not exact. This number is off by a fraction of 1/400th. That's the same equation that we use to get the size and distance of the moon in relation to the sun. So it's almost like Saturn, how does it's in sync with the moon in its distance. What's up with this? So you look at ancient religions and you realize that in the Jewish culture, for instance, they had the god El, which was literally the planet Saturn.
That was my grandpa's name.
And was it really?
Grandpa L. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, his real name was Ellsworth, but we called him Grandpa L.
Excellent. Well, how about the fact that Saturn equals 93 in the alphabetic order, and the fact that the god El, E-L, in trigonal equals 93? So I think the ancients had this knowledge. They realized Saturn was moving around the sun at the same speed that the moon was whipping around the Earth. And I think that's why they worship the planet.
Could they even see Saturn back when they were ancient?
Saturn was the last planet that they could see in the sky, yes. They could not see Neptune and
Mars,
Uranus.
Uranus.
Uranus. They could not see Uranus. They could not see Neptune. Stop. What's so funny?
They could not see Uranus.
They couldn't see Pluto. So as far as they were concerned,
Pluto's not a planet.
technically not. It lost its status. Those jerks.
Now we got Planet X.
Poor Pluto.
Yeah, it's supposedly gonna. Maybe it's causing these hurricanes. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. So they had, as far as they were concerned, Saturn was the end of the solar system, and the Sun was the center. I mean, there were heliocentric models back then, despite what they tell us now. So they understood these mathematics and how this relationship worked, and that's why the god El was represented by Saturn, the keeper of time. So, Saturn worship never ended, and Saturn 93, right?
Why are they worshiping a planet, though?
Well, I think they think that Saturn is responsible for our reality to an extent. I mean, there's a lot of people who have done research and think that when they say simulation theory, they think that it's this holographic projection that's being displayed from Saturn. And to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No.
So I try not to think of that kind of thing, but I mean, there's something underneath our reality. I mean, we only see like 0.5% or less of all matter in the universe. The visible spectrum of light is like 0.5%. So there's all these things going on that we can't see. There's this ether that's constantly moving that we can draw energy from.
Like Donnie Darko?
That's a really interesting movie too, and they talk about that in time travel and whatnot.
I have that tattooed on my back.
That movie came out, I think, January 19th, 119, the year that 9/11 came out. There's some people who've done some work on that film and how it was like basically predicted the attack through numbers.
Yeah,
or at least
it came out before 9/11, right?
Yeah, it was earlier that year.
I had that tattoo way before 9/11, I think.
And so we're looking at Saturn 93.
I have a 9/11 tattoo on me from when I was 14 years old that I
Really?
did myself.
You did yourself?
Yeah, when I first met him, I was like, why do you have 9/11 tattooed on you?
And I actually have an anarchy symbol over here that I got covered up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And after 9/11, I was like, one of these are going to have to go. What's the easiest to cover up? Like, I can't have 9/11 and an anarchy symbol.
No shit. So when you were 14, just to clarify, 9/11 hadn't occurred yet.
No,
you just had
it
this
was like
911.
19.
So imagine getting on an
90.
airplane, trying to get on an airplane with 9/11 written on your fucking shin. Oh my god.
Well, when I was like 13 or 14, whenever I tattooed that, I thought it was really cool. Like, oh, what's 9/11 on your leg? I was like, yeah, you're gonna have to call 9/11 and get my foot out of your ass. Meanwhile,
That's seriously why you got 9/11 on you?
that's why I did 9/11 to myself.
You 9/11'd yourself?
I did.
How old were you?
What does
I
that
was
mean?
like
Does that
13
mean
or 14?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. What kind of a job is a gardener, Carrie?
A gardener.
Yeah, it's an outside job, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what an inside job is? 9/11.
9/11?
Oh, my God.
Saw that going. And look at
Anyway, back to worshiping Saturn.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at Saturn. It's got this Francis Bacon gematria, 11:9, the inverse of 9/11.
So they think that Saturn has
Francis
something.
Bacon.
Yeah.
Wait,
All
Kevin
seeing-
Bacon?
That's not. Yeah.
Francis Bacon is
There's Francis Bean.
he's an artist.
Well, that's one of his roles.
Like a really fucked up artist, and he's
He was-
super cool.
Like Salvador
yeah,
Dali?
he was one of the.
He like grew. I think his dad was a butcher, and so like I forget the whole backstory, but like a lot of his art revolves around like this dark, like just. I have a little
Yeah.
mini framed postcard of it.
He was a dark. Sorry to interrupt. He was a dark
Oh, you're fine.
occultist, and he was a
I want to see
Freemason.
his shit.
And look at his birthday, 122, January 22nd. Freemason in Francis Bacon equals 122. And what this cipher does, it's the same as the alphabetic order, except for each capital letter, you add 26. So a capital A would then be 27. I have a better chart somewhere on my computer, but
People can't see the chart anyway.
yeah.
This
Well,
is going so deep. I didn't know Francis Bacon was going to be involved with this.
oh
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know Francis Bean was either.
So here's a better look at
Do
the
not
cipher
compare
for you
Francis
guys.
Bean to Francis Bacon.
Francis Bacon is revenge on Seattle.
Francis Bacon was
might-
like way before our time.
Yes,
I don't even
very
know-
I
much.
want to see his art though. If it's fucked up, I'll probably like it.
I'm
and
sure
I don't like art.
You've seen it before because I used to have his art hanging in our apartment.
Hanging? Was it people hanging?
Well, it was on a bookshelf because it was like in a little frame.
So it's rusting.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example here. 93. They love the number 93. Look at when the second plane hit the World Trade Center. Look at that. 902. Boom. 903.
10.
On the boom. As it exploded, it went to 903. Do you see that? Let me show it again. Boom. 903. Okay, that was the explosion. When President Bush that morning went to speak, look at the clock. 929. 929. Oh, he's looking at a clock. 9:30. Now he speaks. See, they worship the number 93 to a great degree. Let me tell you a little
Is that
bit
the
about.
Freemasons, the Illuminati, the Skull and Crossbones?
Yes.
Which one is it?
Well, here's Thelema, and this was a social
never heard of
philosophy. Right. This is it's known as "do what thou wilt." It was a philosophy of Aleister Crowley, and Thelema actually worshipped the number 93. When they saw each other, when they greeted, instead of saying hello, they would say 93. When they said goodbye, they would say
Do they say that in
93.
English?
Yeah. This is
Weird.
yeah,
I'll
that's
start
very
saying that to
weird.
people.
So, you can look this up yourself. I mean, look at this. Core topics. Book of the Law, Aleister Crowley, True Will, 93, magic. Okay, so there's this 93 that's very significant. And just look at the date, September 11th. First of all, I'm going to introduce a new cipher to you guys, and this one's
Jesus Christ, another one? I still barely get the first one.
Yeah.
so this is actually exactly similar to the old Hebrew charts and Greek charts, where they
They
were
got way bigger numbers, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And this is how Greek gematria was built. They had 27 letters, and it would go 1 through 9, then 10 through 90, and then 100 through 900.
Carrie, that answers your question. Like
Yeah.
how they counted past 26.
Right. So in this example, we're taking the laws of reduction, but we're reversing it. So instead of, 1 plus 1 equals 2, we're saying 1 plus 1 equals 2, and then adding a 0 for each time we had to reduce, right? Or something to that effect. So this is what Hebrew gematria and Greek gematria was built off of. And in English Extended, when we type out September 11th, 2001, I'm sorry, this 9/11/2001. My bad. It's as these numbers appear in the dates. September 9/11/2001.
No more beer for you.
Seriously.
Can't even type.
You
Sorry,
spelled
I
it
can't
11
even
wrong.
talk.
I got it.
I
I
can't
got
read.
it. 9/11/2001. English extended, it sums to 2207. Remember, we talked about this number and how it related to the English language. And Building 7, you know, the one that fell that didn't get hit by an airplane, the one that fell at free fall speed later in the afternoon, it fell 7 hours and 22 minutes after the first building fell. And that's the inverse of 227. And even World Wrestling Entertainment did this recently.
Yeah, with the Big Show.
With
and,
the ring collapses.
Yeah, I saw that you had it on YouTube.
Yeah, so in that video, I explained how there was a ring collapse back in 2003 when Brock Lesnar superplexed the Big Show. And then there was a second collapse when Mark Henry did it and the ring collapsed. And then there was a third collapse where Braun Strowman did it. And if you measure from the first ring collapse to the last ring collapse, it was 722 weeks. Just like how it was 7 hours, 22 minutes after the first building fell that the third building fell. And Vince McMahon, I mean, look at the name McMahon. Using Francis Bacon gematria where those capital letters matter.
So
See
you-
how there's two capitals? It sums to 119.
So basically, what you're saying is like Vince McMahon is part of the elite whatever group,
Yes.
and that he's telling the wrestlers like you have to hit these fucking moves on this mark.
But then, according
Well-
to this, though, I'm apparently part of that group, aren't I? Or I'm a Freemason,
Or maybe
something.
the Illuminati
Well-
shows us to get married.
It's not just the numbers that determine whether or not you're a Freemason or
Wait,
anything
wait,
like that,
what
but-
exactly is a Freemason? Like they're
Yeah,
like Illuminati?
I tried
No,
looking
no.
up. I tried looking up Freemason too, and I'm really confused by that.
So yeah, and it's not. I don't want to make all of Freemasonry look bad, even though that's what I think is the front for a lot of the bad stuff that is occurring in
But
this
there
country.
are Masons that are just hardworking bricklayers.
Yeah, because I think the high-level Masons take advantage of the lower-level Masons in regards to asking them what to do and what to talk about and what to cover up.
Wait, let's
Like-
back up.
like
What's
most-
a Mason?
A bricklayer.
Sure. So if you want to become a Mason, you can just go
Masonry,
to a Masonic lodge and basically apply, and they'll,
Oh,
you know, they'll
really?
talk to
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
You don't
it's
have
totally
to
open
be
to
a
the public.
Mason?
No.
Oh,
No, you don't have to
shit.
be born into it.
You
don't
know
have to
about
do
this,
that.
So
TJ? Have
where's-
you applied?
We're
No,
still
Guy
not answering the
Kokomo's part
question
of
as
it,
to what a
though.
Mason
Wait, hold on. We
is.
can't. I'll talk at once.
Well, my question isn't being answered.
So you show up at the lodge and you have to go through this process, this review process. And if any one single member of that lodge does not want you to become a Freemason, you do not become a Freemason at that lodge. That's called being blackballed. They drop a little black ball into the vote box.
Okay,
That's
so
called.
what
That's where
is
the term
what
originates
is a
from, yeah.
Mason though?
Well, so at the
Technically,
I mean, I'm not a Mason myself, so I can't answer exactly what they do. But
Generally
Freemasonry,
speaking-
yeah, they participate. Like the lower level Masons often participate in community charity work, right? They'll do homeless shelters. They'll feed the homeless. They'll take care of kids. They'll run
So they're
festivals
people
and
that are
things
trying
like
to
that.
help society.
Sure, I'm sure a lot of people join it thinking that they're doing good, and maybe they are doing good
I haven't
within
joined the
Freemasonry.
Masonry, but I do try to do good.
Yeah, I mean, that's because, well, like I said, that's why a lot of people get into it, but the
Well-
people who get into it for the wrong reasons are the ones who get high up in Freemasonry.
yeah. According, I googled masonry, and it says stonework.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where it
Yeah,
originates.
Masonry is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what
yeah.
you wasn't. That's what you're asking, right? Like the
No,
original.
I'm asking what a Freemason is.
Okay.
The definition, the general definition of what
Sure.
a Freemason
It's a country
is.
club.
It's a club where you go to...
It's
to increase
basic
your-
definition.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to increase your spiritual awareness and your happiness in life, and they offer, kind of like a ladder that you climb and you ascend spiritually. But like church, it's this external spirituality that they're attaining. It's not necessarily, an inner true spirituality, but for a lot of these people, it's very rewarding. And at the higher levels, that's where things, happen that we don't know. Because when you become a Freemason, you have to take an oath. And that oath involves like, oh, if I spill the secrets, you're going to rip out my intestines and choke me to death and kill me with them.
And we have
Okay.
a temple here in Racine, actually.
There's temples in just about every town. I mean, I live right next to one, and I live between, off of exit 307. Remember, Freemason equals 307 in Jewish, and that's how to get to the Masonic Lodge in Milwaukee. Of course, my name in Francis Bacon also equals 307.
They just
Wait,
had
funny
last
Wait,
year.
what does
they-
my name equal in Francis Bacon? Because I like Francis
Your
Bacon.
full name or
Just Carrie.
Carrie and Francis Bacon is 80,
Okay, well, that
and then with
doesn't
that
mean
with that
anything.
G 218. That was the date of the eclipse, 21/8.
Oh.
It's a very significant number, 218. I don't know the full meaning of it, but
Wait, the eclipse wasn't on 218.
it was on 21/8. That's the 21st of August. You know, the thing with dates is that most of the world writes dates the opposite direction.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
So think about how Freemasonry, I'm going to...
Freemasonry predates America, right? Or did it
So
start around
Yes.
America?
So Freemasonry
It does
is
predate America.
basically a political/religious sect.
It's more religious than
Of
political,
society?
yeah. So...
Are they satanic or Saturn worship?
I think
or...
at the high levels they do Satan. They say they absolutely do satanic rituals and get together and will things into existence
They're
and
like, what's
try to
it-
summon spirits and sacrifice and things like that. But that's not limited to Freemasonry. That's not all Freemasons doing that.
Yeah.
That's a number of different secret societies, different orders that are high up.
Who's higher, Freemasons or Illuminati? Or are they like the same
I guess
level?
Illuminati, because Illuminati is the
Yeah.
one that they're not putting themselves out in front of the public. We don't know who the Illuminati
Yeah, the Illuminati is
are,
one
you know.
I always hear about. I
Yeah.
hardly ever hear about Freemasonry except through Gematria.
Yeah,
Really.
The way I see it is that Freemasons take an oath to keep the secret. The great
Okay.
secret is that they're trying to keep us asleep and from our true spiritual selves, because as a result, they can then take advantage of our labor, and we can continue feeding this bullshit tax system so that they can live like kings, and we can continue to support this tier of society that does nothing. They don't contribute. They just sit in political office and banter about bullshit all day and don't actually do anything to help the people.
I just did an episode 2 episodes ago about taxes.
Yeah.
Actually, it was
Did you have
about
James on? I
No,
reached out
no.
to James recently.
yeah, it was about taxing the church. Actually,
Oh, right on. I'm all for it. So, Freemasonry in the reverse order equals 158.
So you would have been an interesting person to have on that podcast. Then.
yeah, I did it with a podcast from Indiana called the What If Podcast.
Cool. Right on. So, 158, 15/8, August 15th, that's the 227th day of the year. And Freemasonry equals 158. In the prime number cipher, it equals 454, which factors down to 2 times 227. So this number is just something they adore. And let me show you something really cool, right? We got, if you go to the English to Hebrew calculator, type in United States of America, you get this string in Hebrew. And you can go to the Hebrew Wikipedia even if you want and verify that. But in here I have Hebrew ciphers as well, so we can run Hebrew gematria. And look
yeah,
at this.
that's what I was wondering before.
The United States of America equals 227. Isn't that wild? And if we take out the from United States of America, it gives us a much shorter string. And when we run the gematria on this, it sums to 1314, like the digits of pi, 314. So isn't that wild? It's got that string, and the full name sums to 227. Now, you asked if Freemasonry was around before the United States of America.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Check this out. The word Masonic, let me take out some of these extra ciphers so that you guys don't have too much eye candy. Masonic in Jewish gematria equals 223. And our flag is called the Star-Spangled Banner, 223. Remember, that's how many months, synodic months, are in an eclipse cycle. Also, Masonic in the square number cipher, we look at that, 1042, just like the United States of America in Jewish gematria,
This website
1042.
This is just a side note, would be a great way to waste a lot of time, I feel like. I feel like you could go
This
on
is
this
Derek's
website and just
website.
get I know. I just feel like you
This
would
is a
just
rabbit
completely,
hole.
yes.
Yes,
Like, you
I
would
had
just,
to,
like,
I had to stop
hours would
myself
go by.
from decoding your guys'. I was like, I can't get to the bottom of it. I got to stop. So, but look
That's
at
awesome.
United States of America and Francis Bacon, 365. How many days are in a year?
Right.
365. Circle equals 32 and 50. And look at America, 32 and 50.
Okay, but where again does Francis Bacon play into all of this? Like,
Well, he was one of the most influential members of Freemasonry. I think he was instrumental in building the English language personally, just off of what I've seen. But, and I could be wrong, but
I'm
you know,
surprised we didn't talk about this more in art school.
yeah,
Well, you went to a
Well,
public university.
yeah, they're not going to teach you gematria there because
They're not going to teach you a lot at art
Well,
school.
not the gematria, that, but like just I don't know.
They're not going to give away the Freemason secrets.
So with the eclipse,
yeah. Oh,
all right, we're recording this right now. It's September 22nd, and from what I've been reading, the 7-year trials and tribulations are supposed to start tomorrow, based on the eclipse, and it has something to do with the math of Israel being around a certain amount of years and some other mathematical shit that I don't remember and I didn't understand. What do you know about that?
Well, Israel does seem to have a relationship to the eclipse, and the reason I say that is because when you measure from their date of establishment, which is May 14th, 1948, and the reason I know this is because Mark Zuckerberg's birthday is May 14th, 1984. You just flip them around, and who's more responsible for the 1984 society that's going on right now than his ass? But anyway, if you measure to the date of the eclipse from the date of establishment, you get this wild number.
Do you relate everything you hear, though, to this?
Well, it's hard not to once you realize how deep the coding goes. By the way, to finish this thought, the establishment date was 69 years and 99 days before the solar eclipse. Remember, it was the first eclipse coast to coast in 99 years. United States of America and 13 equals 99. Also, the word eclipse equals 69, English ordinal. So how weird is it that they were established 69 years and 99 days before this eclipse? And I really do think they've been planning out ever since the beginning of this country. They've known about this eclipse because they like to look in the stars for signs. I mean, this has been said in the Bible, as far as the second comings, according to some beliefs. And here we have two solar eclipses that are occurring. They're crossing an X over the U.S. And these two eclipses...
Egypt.
Over Little Egypt, yeah.
Little Egypt,
And these two eclipses are 2,423 days apart. That's the 360th prime number. So for a country that's...
mean?
Well, think about all the relationships I made with America and the circle.
Okay.
Yeah, 360. And the 360th prime number of days apart, that's the two eclipses. I mean, they're looking... And they coded our country around the mathematics of the circle. And think about that.
Isn't a Freemason a circle and a triangle?
It's a compass and square.
Yeah,
you have a compass that's set at 47 degrees, just like how there's 47 degrees between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. And in Gematria, time equals 47 using the alphabetical order.
Okay.
So, by the way, time is a measurement of the speed of light. See how time is 254? Light is 254. September 11th is the 254th day of the year, by the way.
Brock was born on 9/10.
Barack Obama?
No, Brock, my dog.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, your dog's president? Let's not take it the wrong way here.
He is black.
That's true.
Kind of.
Oh my God.
So, what is Brock, by the way? All right. Anyways, wait, was that 86?
Me? Sean?
Someone was 86. I forget. Anyways.
TJ was
I'm
born
86.
in 86.
No.
Oh, were you? Okay.
You didn't do TJ's name, did you?
What's his full name?
Travis James.
Travis James?
Yep.
The 33rd prime number, 137.
James
Here he is
McGregor, technically.
Well, yeah, but think about it. 137, the 33rd prime. Here he's sitting on 33 between us.
Oh,
right?
episode 33, yeah.
That's pretty
The
wild.
Freemason sign.
And then do I got to put that too? Oh my God. Look at he's got my mom's gematria. 88, 119, 223. Look at the prime number, 317.
I bet your gematria will match up with
Travis,
Mom's.
you'll like this. 713 is very significant. First of all, Milwaukee, Wisconsin is 713 in that same cipher. But look at knowledge. Knowledge, 713. And then we have wisdom, 713. The Hebrew word for Saturn, if we bring this over into the gematrinator, Saturn, using the large cipher, equals 713.
Well, TJ is the first college graduate from the McGregors.
Well, you had the numbers, buddy.
And probably the smartest, too.
Well, that's debatable.
Well, we're not talking about street knowledge.
Check
talking
out
about
this
book knowledge.
So let me go to the basic calculator. I'm going to copy your name and look for matches, because I have this feature on here where you click match.
Yes. I wanted to talk about that because I mashed up a lot of shit with my name.
Look at this. The Synagogue of Satan, 223, 290, just like Travis James McGregor.
Yeah, what are his
Crystal
numbers?
meth addiction, 88, 119, 223.
Good thing I never done that.
Can you go back up? What's his full reduction?
88.
Oh, I'm 96, and then he's 119, and I'm 93.
Yeah, so you both have Saturn numbers. He has Saturn 93.
And then
You have
he's
Saturn
223, I'm 195, and I'm 264, and he's 290.
Awesome.
That's full reduction, reverse full reduction, English ordinal, and reverse
Sure.
ordinal for anyone following along.
Perfect.
this
So
podcast.
it just feels like, these numbers they follow us around in some weird fashion. And, last week I was on the radio up in Vermont and I was talking about the sorrow cycle that I mentioned earlier, 18 years, 11 days. That is actually a span of exactly 6,585 days, okay? And I mentioned that on the radio, and I had the thing on my screen the whole time. Well, I had a phone call with a guy who's a contributor on my Discord chat, and it was the first time I had ever talked to him over Skype. And we had a good chat about things, right? Is this guy here, Will. And see his profile? Look at that, 6,000. His profile number is 6585. And our phone call was exactly 1 hour, 49 minutes, and 45 seconds, which is 6,585 seconds. Just by chance. No planning at all.
That's that's just coincidental.
Okay, well, think about this. Remember I told you about my Serbian friend who was 9 years, 3 months younger than me, where our birthdays are 93 days apart? When we first started taking notes on my presentation, Signs of Time, which now has about 15,000 views on YouTube and is being suppressed, like I mentioned,
right.
When we first sat down and talked, okay, we had a phone call. We took 3 slides of notes and we figured out how it was going to flow, what I'm going to cover, and how it's going to what's going to make the most sense to people. So we sat down and talked, and during the call, he asked me if I had ever taken mushrooms, and I said I did a couple times, but I said I really liked ecstasy when I took it when I was younger, and in fact, I liked it so much I burned a CD from the music from that day, and I just wrote the date on it, and the date was 2/27. That's all I wrote, 2/27. I was like, well, that's weird. We're starting the presentation with 2/27, and that was the date? That's weird. So anyways, we started to get to the end of it, and it was after midnight here. And I said, all right, I'm tired, man. It's late here. It's after midnight. I was like, what time is it over there in Serbia? And he goes, it's 7:22. And I was like, okay, then I'll go now. I'll see ya. I came back the next day, and he says, look at the call time. It was exactly 2 hours and 27 minutes to the second. And we did not plan that. I didn't see the call time.
So how did it happen?
I don't know. The next time not the next time we talked, but after I moved, I called him and wanted to show him just the house where I was now, where my new office was. That call lasted 903 seconds. My name there's a lot more ciphers on the screen. I apologize. Derek Michael J. Tikkuri. This is all out of order, but in Satanic Gematria, it's 903. 2 of my brothers, it's 903 days between their birthdays. 903 plus 93 is 996. That's how many days are between my other brothers.
I feel like someone could literally drive themselves crazy figuring this out.
Well, you want to hear some crazy shit, Carrie?
Yeah.
You wanna hear
more crazy shit, you mean?
Yeah. Listen, my matches.
Not
like,
that this
you,
is
you
crazy.
can match up
it's just
words
really
on there, right?
mind-blowing.
You can match up words. I screenshotted some matches. So my full name, Sean Aaron McGregor, is 96, 93, 195, and 264. So one matches up 3 out of the 4 of them. He's lucky to be alive.
This is true.
Because skull fracture.
The last president. Where
was it?
Unfinished pyramid.
No, I'm going down. I should have highlighted these. There
Demilitarized zone. This is my buddy Bobby.
I want to
Allen
know
Simpson.
my words or whatever. I can do that separate after this podcast, though.
There was one that was it was like December 15th, I think it was, and that was the year my friend in high school died, and I was supposed to be in the car with him, and at the last minute, I told him I didn't want to hang out, and then the next day, I found out that he got hit by a bus, or they ran a stop sign and got hit by a bus, and they died, and the guy in the back seat was paralyzed.
Damn.
That equals the same thing. Words are numbers.
I think, though, that you literally are the definition of look of the Irish.
Well, it's also fucked up. I have a tattoo of an angel with no head. My mom gave me a guardian angel that clips on your visor. And I've had it probably, 16, 17 years, maybe almost 20 years. Head fell off a long time ago. I fell out, cracked my head. Brock jumped out of your car, landed on his head, has a scar on the same side that I fractured my head. And Brody got bit in the face when he was a puppy, had a scar on the same side.
Yeah, that's crazy when you think about it.
Shit.
But I also think that that's all coincidental.
There's someone was decoding how, how recently the Pope fell and scratched his eye, and someone was decoding how all these other past people had eye injuries, like Bush was cut under the eye once, Kerry had a black eye, and it was like they synced up with the dates and stuff. It was wild. Yeah, that was one thing that happened to him. So our reality is code. In fact, there was like a toddler who got hit by a foul ball the other day.
Yeah, I saw that.
And Dan Barrett, this great channel on YouTube, he does a good mix of decoding his personal life in addition to decoding media propaganda and stuff. And the guy at bat was named Todd Frazier, and he hit a toddler, right? And just the score.
That's reading too deep into it.
Okay, well, that's one thing. Like you just heard me say one thing, and there's like 100.
Okay.
I mean, toddler equals 39. The score was 3-9. They were playing in New York, which has the same gematria as toddler. I could go on. I mean, it was just wild. That guy was traded to the New York Yankees on 18/7, and New York Yankees equals 187 in the reverse order.
Well, maybe this is related, but I personally think that people, like with the whole head injury shit and all that, and the car and all that, I think people have a predetermined path that they unknowingly like dictate.
Mm-hmm. So we don't have free will, is what you're saying.
Well, it goes back to the Donnie Darko thing. Not that I'm saying that the Donnie Darko is life, but I'm saying that kind of like we unconsciously, go down or make decisions that create like outcomes.
What if it's like Groundhog's Day, where you just keep reliving the same day until you do something right, and then you move on to the next day, but you only remember the last day you actually lived.
Say that again?
You know the movie Groundhog's Day?
Yeah. No, I've never seen it, actually.
With Bill Murray?
It's been a while for me.
Wait, did you see that new horror movie coming out next month?
Oh, Happy Birthday or her birthday?
Yeah,
or something like that?
That's the same concept.
Yeah, it's where this guy keeps reliving the same day over and over. Like, he wakes up at 6 a.m., and everything happens the same every single day. No matter how much he changes, he shoots himself in the face. Alarm clock, 6 a.m. He
sounds like it's hell.
Like what?
Like hell.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And eventually he figures out he needs to fall in love with a girl. Spoiler alert. But what if every day is the same until you do something right? Then you move on to the next day, but that's all you remember is the one thing you did right.
That's wild.
That's Matrix. Simulation.
That's life, though.
That could be a computer glitch. And that's why you get that deja vu and you get that Bernstein-Bear Mandela effect, because you remember the 3 million other days you just lived one day before. I just thought of this shit. I don't know what's going on in my head.
Well, that sometimes I have a dream where it's like you're driving, what to do? The bridge ended. Wah! Then you fly down, and as I'm about to hit the ground, I wake up and I'm like, well, that felt like it really happened.
You have dreams like that?
I died my dreams.
Have you looked into that?
Well, no, I don't think it's that abnormal. It's not like I wake up and I'm like, I must drive off a cliff.
There's definitely, I'm sure there's definitely some symbolic, because your dreams are apparently like what is in your, like, it's like your inner deep thoughts that are like coded or whatever, translated into this weird symbolism that if you like look deep into it, it means something much more.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean,
like if you're feeling,
we don't know what dreams are.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's like if you're feeling like you're flying, I mean, but then you can't really fly, or you feel like you're kicking something, but you can't kick. Like, it means something more.
Then you wake up and
that.
you're actually kicking your husband.
That
Derek,
might have happened a couple of times.
Have you done DMT before?
No, man, that's the one drug experience I have not done that I would still like to do.
Yeah, I've been meaning to try it. I haven't done a lot of drugs, mostly because I get drug tested all the time, and I would never do drugs if my work listens to this, but I wouldn't mind trying DMT. That's we talked about that in the consciousness episode.
Sure.
If you want to listen to that one. Like, that seems like Carrie's a little scared to do it. She doesn't.
I'm just not really for putting anything fake or.
It's 100% natural. Your body.
It is
makes
natural.
It.
Your body makes it, but
it releases it before you die.
Someone else make it, like in a lab somewhere, it's like for you to take to create.
It's a
through natural means, right?
It's a plant.
Oh.
And we've been through this before. It's a plant.
Yeah, you can mash it up into a juice
like
and
weed.
drink it like ayahuasca. They call it. Yeah.
It's a plant. It's no different than weed, except it doesn't last as long, and it's a lot stronger, but it only lasts like 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's 100% natural. I mean, they use it in religion, I think, down in parts that don't
They have different retreats you can go to, and like go to and meet with a shaman and just spend like a night or two there, so that you're in this like safe place and you're going to be there for a full day or whatever. So you can have the trip and they can walk you through it and stuff.
That's pretty cool.
It is. Yeah, they need more of that because, I mean, those types of experience should be somewhat regulated. And if you don't have the friends who are responsible enough to regulate you, then it'd be nice to have a place to go where you can just get that over with. But yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. I never did cocaine or, shrooms or ecstasy but once, and it's just like, that stuff never really interested me. But
yeah,
DMT, the stuff I've heard about it, like going outside of the universe and meeting the machines
yeah,
who are happy to see you. I'm like, that sounds cool, It's like, I want to see them.
All right, so we're about hour and a half into this, so...
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so much more. We didn't even really talk about the whole eclipse.
Part 2 to come, maybe?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I guess we're going to wrap this up.
No, we don't have to, but we should.
We do got Brock outside.
I want to check on Brock.
Sure.
Yeah, why don't we take a little break, and we'll come back, and this might be the end of the episode. We might have a part 2, which means I'm going to have to find out what number part 2 will have to be.
Well, I don't know how it could line up any better than this being episode 33.
Yeah, I did not plan that either. I mean, it could have been episode 32, but then if you just flip that around, it's 23, which is the date the world's supposed to start ending, which is tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, so maybe there won't be a part 2 because we'll all be citizens of Nibiru tomorrow.
From what I read, it's not supposed to end tomorrow.
With the way the world is going, there's like earthquakes, wildfires,
North
hurricanes.
Korea,
it's fucking 95 degrees today, and it's September 22nd. It's supposed to be like 89 tomorrow. Like,
yeah. All right.
I'm kidding. I don't think the world's gonna end. Anyways,
world might
eventually, but not soon.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. We might be back. We might not. If not, all right, we're back. We are just finishing up this episode. We are not going to split this off because I did the calculator, and if we do episode 33.5, that equals what the fuck did I find? 119, 272, and 268, which is University of Virginia. Isn't that where they had a false flag?
Yeah, and 272 is death in trigonal.
Whoa.
Oh, we don't want that. And Robert Kardashian.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Kardashian.
Malik Jackson Brown. I don't know who he is, but he sounds dangerous. So
I think it's a female.
We're going to talk about some hurricanes and the eclipse, and
I'm going to try and do it in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
So yeah, where we started before, the term total eclipse, which is the premier type of eclipse. These are much more significant to the occult than the annular solar eclipses because there's just something special about it. Like I said, I saw it myself.
Yeah,
and
it covers everything.
It blew me away, yeah. And, we talked about the number 13 earlier. I watched the eclipse from a town called Marion, Illinois, which is 13 squared, 169 English ordinal. So I figured with all the 13s that were surrounding the eclipse, you had the terrorist attack where 13 people died. I was like, maybe this is a good place to watch the eclipse. Masons love the number 13. Mason in almost every language starts with the 13th letter of that language. Like, that's just kind of a rule. Well, not all languages.
So M is the
most.
13th letter, right?
Yes.
As McGregor?
Yeah, that's right.
And we got married on the 13th?
That's right. 313, the 65th prime number, yeah. 72nd.
It was my first marriage, so if you put 1 before the 3...
Say what?
It's my first marriage. My first marriage.
First of 13.
She's implying like, oh, that means there's going to be more.
I'm just saying it's a fact.
Who says that?
Because if you put a 1 before the 3...
3 times or 2 times or more than 1 time...
Well, no, I'm saying if you put a 1 in front of the 3 of March, then you have another 13.
Right.
That's what I'm saying, Carrie.
The 13s. So, anyway.
Now my husband's going to be thinking even more of numbers, and he apparently already does. Thanks, Derek.
Yeah, no worries.
That's the best math I can do is right there. If you add a 1 to it. What do you got here?
Well, I'm going to pull up, there was a news story that came out after the crash. I didn't do a PowerPoint on it. I only have the video, but just it was all coded with the numbers of the eclipse. But we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to start with the actual gematria of total eclipse, like I mentioned.
Okay.
So just the word eclipse on its own. We're going to look at one more cipher. There's this other cipher that takes capital letters into account called Frank Baconis, and this is something I named because I don't know what to name it.
Who's that?
Well, it's
What is
it's how Francis Bacon used to sign a lot of his art was Frank Baconis. So this is the other cipher we discovered
Super
that
interesting.
yeah, where it alternates. It's like a classroom. You know how there's capital A, small a, capital B, small b.
Yeah.
That's how this cipher is numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me pull up a better picture. Frank Baconis. Here. So this looks like your old classroom chart from kindergarten, right? You know, A, B, B. So this is how this cipher works. And in that cipher, eclipse equals 137. That's the 33rd prime number. And in reduction, eclipse equals 33. And total eclipse also has this gematria of 137. And see this English extended value of 713? Remember we just talked about this? And Saturn, knowledge, wisdom. Well, sure enough, total eclipse also 713. So we see this 137 alphabetic order, and the total eclipse, think about where it started. Like I said, the 33rd state, Oregon, and the city closest to the beginning of the eclipse was Portland, OR. And in reverse gematria, this sums to 137, the beginning of the total eclipse. The last big city that the eclipse passed was Charleston, SC, which in English ordinal is 137. 187 in the reverse order, just like total eclipse as well. In fact, South Carolina, which is on the 33rd parallel on the globe, South Carolina sums to 156, English ordinal. When you write out 33, it sums to 156. This is a big number because the 156th prime number is 911. That sequence that we're so familiar with. So, you know, this eclipse goes over 4 cities, and forgive me while I hunt here.
You know, what's the significance behind 9/11? I mean, we know it's, you know, the emergency code. It's the biggest terrorist attack in American history. Is there any Saturn or Freemason thing behind the importance? Like, what's the math?
Yeah, so I showed you earlier in the Francis Bacon cipher, Saturn equals 119. 119 is
Backwards?
also, well, it's a significant number also. Yeah, and the inverse is important, 911, the 156th prime. Now, where was I going with that? This happens sometimes. You can edit it, right?
It's a glitch in the Matrix.
Seriously. The number 119, it's factors, right? So if we look at just the number 119, its factors are 7 and 17, and these two numbers are very important. So 7, you know, the G is the logo of the
number,
Freemason. Right? It can be considered that, yes. So you know how the Freemason logo has G, the 7? G is also 17 in the prime number cipher because the 7th prime number is 17. So in God, in reduction gematria, equals 17. Also see how God in reverse reduction is 10 and 55 in the reverse order. Satan, 10 and 55 using the regular order. And think about how when we die we're supposed to go to heaven. That's also 55. So there's a lot of wild stuff there, but let's not get too sidetracked.
What does that mean with God and Satan?
Well, I think,
and the numbers.
I think what it's telling us is that, you know, good and evil are two sides of the same coin. You can't have good without evil. You can't have evil without some sort of good. And I think, you know, that there's a lot of that information shared within the knowledge of the tarot. And, you know, that's something that translates to gematria as well. Here's the tweet I wanted to pull up, though. You got 4 cities. These two X's here, or these two lines.
Yeah.
This is the center of the path of totality for the 2 eclipses that cross through the U.S. And think about how it's been 99 years since the last eclipse. This is the last one that we had go coast to coast, June 8th, 1918. 99 years and 74 days. This also translates to 1,190 months. Okay, so there's another 119 sequence. This is a very important number. Also 13 days.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? Now, the next eclipse is on the date April 8th, and it's a leap year in 2024, so it's on the 99th day of the year.
Ava was actually born on leap year. Her birthday is on the leap day.
Yeah, technically
Oh, really?
she's only
Yeah.
like 3, even though she's in reality 9.
Yeah.
Nice.
We
February
like to just
29th.
pretend that she's 3. Forever.
I went to a funeral on February 29th once, you know. I was like, really?
What are the odds?
Yeah, well, not very good. I should know that off the top of my head, but I don't. So, yeah, anyways, looking back at this tweet, right? You got these 4 cities. If you zoom in, and I use Google Earth to pull up the data and look at these, and you got these 4 cities that surround the path, the very center of this this intersection. The cities are called Etherton, Bosquedel, Maconda, and Pomona. And when you add these
are
up,
in Illinois.
correct. These are like the southern tip of Illinois, around Kentucky, that area.
It's worse than Wisconsin names like Oconomowoc and Manitowoc.
I thought you
Yeah.
were talking
Waukesha.
about cities in another country.
Yeah, that does not sound
I
like
know.
something that should be in Illinois.
Well, maybe this has
Should be
something
something
to do
that
with
starts
it.
with an oak.
Yeah, maybe this is why. Look at the gematria of these cities. When you add them up, it sums to 1,307. And if we drop that 0, that's like 137, like total eclipse. So is this a coincidence that, the main cipher that's used to build the numbers of this language basically
Yeah, but you
tells
can't
the
drop
story
the
here.
0 because the 0's there.
But the 0 doesn't.
But it's
count.
numerology, so you do drop the 0 because the 0 adds nothing to the value of the number. Like 1 plus 3 plus 7 is still going to be 11, whether or not the 0 is there. So
Yeah,
and-
you can't divide by 0.
right. So and look when I talk about Saturn worship. Okay, I did a video that was really popular on the death of Linkin Park, or like the death of Chester Bennington from Linkin. Yeah, the whole band just
Same-
croaked.
Oh,
All of them.
gosh.
Same
No.
thing.
Yeah, same thing. And what I found is really interesting. Well, Linkin Park, using the alphabetic order, sums to 115. And this is a number that surrounds killing. Killing actually has double gematria of 115. See reverse order and the Jewish order. Totally different ciphers, 115 in both. Linkin Park equals 115. And look at this. In Hebrew, the Hebrew equivalent of Linkin Park, you can go to their Wikipedia page in Hebrew. This is what it is. It's 631. That's the 115th prime number. So there's always this link somewhere between English and Hebrew.
Is there a link, though, between Chester and
Chris
Chris
Cornell.
Cornell?
Yeah, I did
And-
videos on both
Other
of
than
them.
the
What
fact that
about
they're best
Pizzagate?
friends?
Or pedophile.
Yeah, so
No, I'm more to go on about Chester and Chris.
Well, they're all
because-
like linked together though.
well, let me just please finish this this thing
Oh,
on
sorry.
Saturn worship because
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is what we're talking
sorry.
about, right? And this ties into Saturn as well. Well, 115 is the inverse of 511. When you type out Saturn in Jewish gematria, it sums to 511. So Linkin Park in the forwards order is 115, and reverse it's 155. This is the video for Shadow of the Day. Remember that song? Doesn't that kind of remind you of a total eclipse? Shadow of the Day.
Right.
And look at the time he woke up on the clock, 11:55. This is a tribute to gematria because Linkin Park equals 115 and 155. Shadow of the Day in Hebrew equals 741. That's the same as Saturn using English extended. This is the 38th triangular number. I'll talk about that on the next one. And look at when this song came out. 511 weeks before the eclipse. Saturn equals 511. Next one. Look at the release of the song Faint. Do you remember the video for Faint? Remember this?
I've never seen any of the music.
What does this
I've
remind
seen
you
the very
of?
first
What does
one.
this remind you of? A solar eclipse, maybe?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, you got the band singing in front of the floodlight, and it's just the silhouette. Like, that's an eclipse, right? It's pretty obvious. And the numerology supports this. From the date of the release of this song to the solar eclipse was exactly 741 weeks. Like I said, the 38th triangular number, Saturn equals 741. This date numerology that this song came out, 6 plus 9 plus 20 plus 3, 38. This song is 163 seconds long. That's the 38th prime number, 163. And it came out on the date 6/9. Eclipse equals 69 in gematria.
What else does this mean, though? Are you saying that this?
This
is
means
connected
that
to
the
his
Hollywood,
death?
the music industry is controlled by dark occult Kabbalists who manufacture these songs for these bands, release them by the numbers in tributes to their future death. Now, personally, I don't really think Chester died. When I watched their last concert together, Chester and Mike Shinoda are like arm in arm, like really close hugging, and they're having a great time. And there was just this strange like look in Chester's eyes. Mike Shinoda's tweet that he released after Chester Bennington died had gematria of 322. Okay, a number significant to the gang. The Skull and Bones logo 322, a number that traces in gematria to many phrases, but. So the whole band kind of knew that they were what they were in for. And as far as Chester Bennington and John Podesta, they look so much alike, and
Yeah,
it seems like
his
there's
dad.
this Podesta connection. I did a video on them too, and it turns out that their birthdays are 9,933 days apart, 9933. And Chester's whole career was centered around Saturn, the eclipse, and the number 93. His band, remember he had a solo project, they released an album 93 months before he died. His whole career was mapped up by the numbers. Furthermore, where he died, Chester Bennington, in Palos Verdes, California, that is exactly 1,444 nautical miles from the point of longest duration of the eclipse. Remember, we talked about 1,444 when you write out 33. The 38th triangular number is 1,444. If you measure from the point of greatest eclipse and measure to Chris Cornell's death, it was exactly 444 miles. Killing in Sumerian gematria, which is where the alphabetical order is multiplied by 6, sums to 444.
Okay, you're saying a lot of numbers. Are you saying, though, that you think that Chester was potentially his
You think he-
Well, he
suicide
definitely.
was set
The
up?
last thing that happened is that he killed himself. That absolutely did not happen. I mean, if he's dead, he was killed by the numbers, just like they kill all celebrities by the numbers.
Like Tupac or Kurt
recall,
Cobain?
Okay, yeah, Tupac. He died on September 13th, right? Tupac Shakur equals 139, 13/9, just like Freemasonry, 13/9. Rapper equals 74. Remember, there was a album with him on a cross. You know, Machiavelli.
Yeah, the Machiavelli.
He died by the numbers, and Zach had some great videos on YouTube that have since been taken down because his channel is censored that exposes the numerology
Why-
of Tupac and Biggie and all their careers.
Okay, but why would they kill? I mean, I get that. I'm not doubting that this is actually true because I do believe that the media and all that is completely fucked up. But why do you think they would kill these people off if that is what
To
is
make
happening?
a legend?
Well, because it's war. What's going on right now in this country is war on the minds of the people. This is like a World War III in essence. We're being streamed with misinformation and propaganda 24/7 by multiple outlets like we never
Totally.
have before.
100%.
And that's what's going on. And when people lose their heroes, someone like Chester Bennington, was there anyone bigger in the rock world? You're talking about the band that sold the most albums in the decade of the 2000s. No one was bigger. You're talking about one of the stars who was on top of his game. I mean, Chris Cornell still was around and sung, but he wasn't like a rock star, a legend, filling stadiums like Chester. And when you look at the
Really?
media...
I didn't know Linkin Park
What?
was that popular, honestly.
Yeah, no,
They've-
more popular than Soundgarden. Are you?
I don't know if
Soundgarden
did
is pretty-
Soundgarden sell the most albums of the 90s? No, Linkin Park did.
I guess I don't. I guess I've never looked at those numbers. I just always considered Soundgarden.
I barely
as-
even knew they were
and
still around.
As like though this iconic
Look at how long-
90s band.
Hybrid Theory, the debut album of Linkin Park, came out 322 days before 9/11.
I remember though, like
Remember that?
liking Linkin Park though, but not being cool for liking Linkin Park because Linkin Park was such a trendy band.
Right, because they sold too many albums.
Yeah.
Like
popular.
Nickelback.
So basically, though, Linkin Park quote unquote sold out.
Well, yeah, because they themselves, if you look at their interviews back when they were Hybrid Theory, they used to say, you got to be willing to sacrifice everything in this business. They said it themselves. And they're not kidding. Literally sacrifice everything. If that means you guys are going to be the biggest fucking band in the world for 16, 17 years, but Chester's got to die as part of this ritual for the solar eclipse. Remember, Chester equals 33 in Gematria?
Did his wife
Just
have-
like Eclipse equals 33, and he died 33 days before the eclipse. So it's not a coincidence. I mean, his career was structured around this, and it's too obvious.
his wife had a really weird tweet right after his death too, didn't she? About how she has proof
So
that
did Cornell's,
he
yeah.
didn't. No, Chester's, I thought.
Yeah, they're in on it too, though. They're just playing along. They're trying to confuse the people, mislead the people. The band's in on it too. Why isn't if he really
why
died?
would their wives be in on it too?
Because
their wives.
Cha-ching, money. It's what we got to do,
Okay,
babe. This
no,
industry is bigger than us.
I don't know if I believe that because
Look at Courtney Love.
Okay, yeah, I don't know enough about Chris Cornell or Chester's wife or whatever, but if you are emotionally connected to someone, how can you be, even if you're only in the relationship solely for this fucked up purpose? I don't understand how you can be with someone for however many years and
But he's not
have
dead.
that emotional connection.
He's
not
on
dead.
Tupac
He's there.
Island.
They're around. They're fine. Cornell, I think Cornell's doing too. If you watch Cornell's last concert,
You
they
think?
said
Wait. You think that Chester is still alive and Tupac?
I would
still
say
alive?
I don't know about Tupac. I'd say it's more likely that Chester and Cornell are off somewhere, either on an island or just in their private residences.
I just
Why
saw
not?
an article on Yahoo News today about how there's this talk about that Tupac is still alive, and I just grazed over
yeah,
it
there was
because I'm
that
like,
selfie
no, he's
not
still
too long
alive.
ago.
The whole thing happened by the numbers. They say he was shot by a guy in a bow tie. Freemasons wear bow ties, and he died in sync with the release of his
Couldn't
album
that be
date.
like, oh, Freemasons wear the color red? Like any fucking person could wear the color red
I thought that
or
was
a bow
blood.
tie.
The whole rap industry, as it was portrayed in the 90s, you had a bunch of studio gangsters portraying this image. And a lot of this was to push illegal behavior upon the poor inner city communities. And as a result, through the 80s and 90s, you saw an extreme increase in the prison population. The privatization of prisons became complete over that time period as well. And what do you know? Look at the inner cities now. How many people are in jail? how many of those people are black? And it's because they were appealed to from a beginning. I mean, this was something very carefully crafted by members of the music industry. And if you read around on the internet, there's writings of music executives who said that they signed non-disclosure agreements to go to this meeting. And in that meeting, they were told that they were trying to build this image to try and, like, here, you guys are the first. They were offering them shares in the prison industry and saying, like, yeah, just push this music, just sign these artists. And
can you buy stock in prison?
I think so. I think there's some that are publicly traded.
They're privatized, are they?
Yeah. I mean, some of them might be traded on the public market. I could be wrong. I don't know for sure, but
I don't know.
They're not. I mean, they're private institutions. The government pays them money per prisoner.
Okay.
That's how it works. So they were offering music executives shares of these prison industries. They said they're going to explode. To help obtain more prisoners, we need to promote illegal activity more in the media and violence and guns and shooting and stuff. Whatever corrupts the minds to lead them that direction. And some of these guys said, no, this is crazy shit. This is fucked up. I'm leaving. And if you go online, you can find testimonials of these people who are like totally anonymous, who say, I signed this agreement, but I feel like this has to be said. This is out there. And, there's a lot of things where it's like, oh, wouldn't people speak up? People are speaking up about a lot of things, but you got to find it because you're never going to see that on the fucking nightly news.
Yeah.
My brother's like, oh, you should try and call Fox 6 and talk about Gematria. And I'm like, they're never going to let me on TV.
Yeah,
in
Ted
fact,
Perry
they're
doesn't give a fuck.
going to monitor the shit out of me even more than they are now, if I try to do shit like that. So, I mean, the music industry is a very dark, very weird thing. Hollywood, too. I mean, look at what these Hollywood guys are doing now.
In general, I think Hollywood, social media, like the news even.
Did you know
I
that?
think it's all a pretty
Do you know where the name
thing.
Hollywood comes from? It's like there. In fact, I think in Harry Potter, one of the witches uses a wand made of Hollywood. It's a type of wood, and it's a witchcraft is what they're using. And in Hollywood, they're creating these works of art supposedly, but a lot of them are designed to brainwash the mind in a specific way. And it's not always straight brainwashing, like, oh, they're going to come out of the movie believing something, but they're going to get subconsciously fed information during that song or during that movie.
Have you ever watched Black Mirror?
No.
No, it's
I have
more.
not.
The show. Remember
Yeah.
that one episode of Black Mirror, though, where they were, like, mocking the American Idol or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Where they were all basically kept in rooms and they would play videos. You should watch Black Mirror.
Okay.
I think it's more like what he's saying is, like, you see TV and you become scared of it. Like, you become scared of stereotypes. Like, you see nothing but, like, black people are going to rob you. Asians are going to come up and karate kick you.
I 100% agree with that because that's why I've stopped watching the news because
not even the news, movies and TV shows too present all these stereotypes.
Totally.
Culture.
Well, yeah, for sure.
And there's something to be said for trauma-based mind control in media as well. And when I say that, trauma, of course, not like always the most severe form of trauma.
Like when
but
there was that whole thing on school shootings.
Yeah.
Like, how did that? Why was there only like a certain period of time in which there was just this thing,
and then all of a sudden they all went away.
Shootings.
Well, it's small news now. Like, there has been a couple shootings this past week. And this is like clockwork. The first week or two of the school year, there is always school shootings. They do this every year, and they do it in small communities, very Masonic high schools. And they hoax these for the public so that the kids are always constantly in a state of fear. Now they have to go through active shooter drills.
Just the kids? Or people in general?
Well, people in general, because people are afraid to send their kids to school. I was talking to a guy, he's like, man, I worry about stuff like Sandy Hook. And I'm like, what if I told you that was a government operation done by the Department of Homeland Security, which was established after 9/11, which was a false flag attack? This Department of Homeland Security is the worst thing right now that's going on in this federal government. They are staging rallies, they're staging parades, they're staging protests. They're doing this all to increase military control and to also like get practice strategizing for when people actually do begin to get serious about protesting. That's going to happen.
I thought that, like you said, I thought it was just a way of putting the public in fear of guns, therefore making it so that more people are against guns, so that the general public is unarmed, so that
that's part of it.
Government is armed and can.
The strategy in every country.
Too deep?
No, the strategy in every country is different. Here, we're not going to be relinquishing our firearms. No. They tried. Sandy Hook was an attempt at this. Project Longevity is what was going on in Connecticut at the time, and longevity equals 1331. They brought in Eric Holder, who was trying to brainwash the kids about their guns. And check this out. If you measure from the date of the Columbine High School shooting, the other most famous shooting aside from Sandy Hook, look at this. It's 13 years, 7 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days. And this is a valid way of measuring dates. Everything I talk about in Gematria is almost more relevant when it comes to date durations. Everything's about weights and measures. So here you have an event, 13 years, 7 months, like 137, the 33rd prime, and then 3 weeks and 3 days. Government and mind control equals 137 in Gematria. The word government comes from the Latin term gubernare, which literally means control of the mind. So it meant discernment. It's something that has to do with the mind. So that's literally what this is, and they even code their rituals accordingly, just like so in your face.
That alone definitely makes me very intrigued by this topic.
Oh, look at
Because
Black Hole Sun. Here's another example. When did Black Hole Sun come out? It came out
93.
Well, Sun equals 54 in Gematria. It came out on 5/4/93, I believe.
But literally, it wasn't until the shootings started happening that I made the conscious decision to stop watching the news, because that's when I suddenly, like, a light bulb went off where I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this news?
Couldn't it be like the same thing with hurricanes now? All of a sudden, we have like, 6 fucking hurricanes in a row?
No.
Yeah,
And,
bullshit.
and there's like, how many earthquakes in Mexico do we have
But
now?
the hurricanes, though, and the earthquakes aren't something that I think can be controlled by...
Derek?
Okay, so here's something you need to know.
I don't
First
know.
of all, let me finish Eclipse. Eclipse 119 in the Kabbalah, right?
But they were talking
Just
about
like
the
Black-
hurricanes when there were wildfires going on, and they weren't talking about the wildfires, so I've heard.
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't know for sure.
We'll
'cause I
get
was
there.
watching the news.
We'll get there. So Eclipse in the Kabbalah is 119. I just showed this. Black Hole Sun 119 also. This song came out 23 years, 3 months, and 17 days before the eclipse, which was on the 233rd day of 17. So even this song, and this song came out 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 days before Chris Cornell's birthday. Eclipse equals 222 in one of these ciphers. There
And
it is,
isn't
222.
an eclipse kind of like a black hole sun?
Exactly. I mean, literally, when you think about it, in the video, it's an eclipse. It's
Yeah.
a black hole sun. I mean, that's totally what it
And you
is.
got that
It's about.
chick eating the
And then
ice cream cone.
right, and then he died
I want to watch
95.
the video now.
Look at this. He died 95 days before the eclipse. Eclipse in Francis Bacon Gematria is 95. And think about how Chester Bennington died on Chris Cornell's birthday, right?
Wait, you say died, but you mean
Well,
like quotation
reported to have died. Yeah, because we don't really know. I mean, we just don't know. That's all there is to it. And to me, it's a whole bunch of mockery. They show like here's video of Chester 36 hours before he died. This is what depression looks like, and he's like, he's having a great old time.
Why would they
They're having
fake a
fucking
death
great time.
though?
Because it's war on the minds of the people, and people who are fans of Linkin Park and who look at Chester. I mean, think about how strong of an emotional attachment people have to singers.
Yeah.
That people
Is this
love
a way
singers;
of
they go crazy
population
for them.
control then?
Well, I think part of this is that there's kind of this encouragement of suicide. Well, all your stars are doing it. It's a thing that's normal.
No,
they're
but only
normalizing
two stars
suicide.
did it.
Well,
No,
even
a lot more than that. I mean, Kurt Cobain did it. Elvis basically did it.
I
Marilyn
don't know
Monroe
if I
did it.
believe that Kurt Cobain did it.
Well, I mean, just going by what the media says,
Right.
I mean, how many of these people
I
actually
think
committed
I think
suicide?
that the Kurt Cobain thing was basically just the police or whatever detectives
Fucking
way
up,
of being
yeah.
like, you know what, like we just need to have a solution to this. So this is going to be.
Didn't they
it.
do that with Chris Cornell and Lincoln Chester, dude?
Do what?
Where they basically ruled it a suicide before.
Because they didn't want to waste time and resources.
Yeah, before they
looking more
even
into it?
investigated it, they're like, "Yeah, that's a suicide." Same with Chris
or
Benoit.
was someone else behind it coercing them into thinking that it was a suicide and they shouldn't dig any deeper into it? Look at this. Now I'm turning into Derek.
So here's the numer. I
You
got a
say
lot
that
of
like it's a
numerology.
bad thing.
I don't mean it's a bad thing at all. You're definitely opening my mind even more, but I definitely don't want to get all hung up on this
Well, think about this.
number thing.
I want to point out they did change Chris Cornell's death after I did this video, right? So remember they first said he died of autoerotic asphyxiation. Remember they said he hung himself because he was.
Yeah, that's
doing-
what I
that's
still.
What they said.
They changed that.
I don't know.
I don't remember ever.
There were so
reading
many
that.
stories.
It was an exercise band.
There were so many stories that came out. They just kept changing it. But anyways, who are the two other most famous guys to die from autoerotic
The dude from
asphyxiation?
In Excess.
That's right, Michael Hutchins. And what about David Carradine? Remember
Oh
him?
yeah, I forgot about him.
He died. I remember he died the day before my birthday in 2009. So anyway, Chris Cornell died on May 18th. So let's add a day to this, right? Because this is just a slide. So if you measure to the death of David Carradine, it's 7 years, 11 months, and 16 days. And this reduces, 16 days. So 7, 11, we don't reduce 11. It's a master number. And then 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. And then if you measure to Michael Hutchins' death, it was 7,117 days. So there's this, see what I'm talking about when I say there's always an alignment between related events. So here they reported it as autoerotic asphyxiation, and that's just because it lines up with these so well. I mean, could it line up any better? You can't do it if you tried. So that's this slide. Let's get out of here. But okay, let's talk about the floods, because these are absolutely man-made storms. I will go on record saying that, claiming that, and I don't say that without any reason. I say that
Hurricanes, you mean?
floods and hurricanes.
Yeah.
Houston's completely flooded.
Houston is fucked. And okay, let me put this in perspective, all right? The word flood in Gematria is 25 reduced and 52 English ordinal, all right?
Okay.
So in order to begin practicing, when they started this whole thing with floods, they did it by the numbers. And weather control has been in place for over 100 years. I don't know if you know this,
Vietnam, right?
before that even, the first ever government grant for weather manipulation went out in the 1800s, before flight even,
Where
supposedly.
do you get those
Is that
facts
HARP?
from?
Right here, from this article in
Yeah,
The Guardian.
HARP
I
in
can link you to
Alaska.
How
that.
do you control the weather?
HARP.
They do it in.
I mean,
is
they
one-
control
they do
the
it in
weather,
Dubai.
then why can the weather not ever get the fucking weather
They
right?
do it in Dubai. They make it rain
don't-
there.
Because they change it. Because
Yeah.
they can control it.
Yeah.
Right. So let me explain to you. I'm not just saying this because, and this is disturbing, and it should be, and it sucks because this is what's happening in this world. So 1952, think about 52. We had this Lynmouth flood, and this is a flood where 34 people died. Lynmouth happens to equal 34 in reduction, so I don't know if that's true. But look at the date this occurred. 15th of August, 1952 is when this sudden flood came out of nowhere and started. We're going to look at satanic gematria. The
Okay,
reason-
well, when you say flood, do you mean like a hurricane, or do you just mean like torrential downpour for like a week, sauna, and like, what do you mean flood?
Excess of water.
This was just one day. It just started raining extremely heavy, and I'll show you in a sec. Satanic gematria, by the way, 666 in that cipher. So flood in satanic gematria is 227. This flood began on August 15th, the 227th day of the year, and it was in 1952. Flood equals 52. Now, a long time after this flood occurred, the BBC, The Guardian, this is from The Guardian, supposedly a trusted news source, and what they uncovered is that supposedly the government was responsible because they were doing something called Operation Cumulus. And you can read about this here. Let me make that bigger. So, until now, the Ministry of Defense has denied knowledge of any cloud seeding experiments taking place in August 52, but documents suggest that Operation Cumulus was going on between August 4th and 15th, the date of the flood. The scientists were based at Cranfield School of Aeronautics and worked in collaboration with the RAF and MOD's meteorological research flight based at Farnborough. So you had this flood suddenly pop up in 52, right? And then 52 years later, to the day, 52 miles away from Boscastle to Lynmouth, 52 miles, 50... Look at this, even Wikipedia. Coincidentally, this was 52 years to the day before Boscastle's. They always say this shit, and every time they say this, there's much more deeper to it.
Well, Wikipedia, though, is other people...
No, it's Masonic control. Try editing anything on Wikipedia. It's gone like
I want to
that.
make my own Wikipedia page.
I
for Sean
made an
McGregor.
edit. There's an edit. Someone died on 9/11. There was a celebrity, and it said coincidentally there was also an episode that aired where it said someone was going to die on American Airlines Flight 11, and I was like, okay, well that means there's more to this. And I dug, and then I added on Wikipedia. I added 3 more paragraphs. Where it was like coincidentally, he's got the same gematria as this. It was gone in 3 minutes. They're all over that stuff. You cannot edit Wikipedia.
Would you have
Wikipedia.
citations? You usually need citations.
By the way, Wikipedia. In the Francis Bacon
Well,
equals
I'm sure
113.
there's a moderator
See that?
for
113.
it.
Bullshit.
You can't just go on there and just write a bunch of shit.
What they did with when Chris Benoit killed himself.
Yeah, someone at WWE headquarters updated it saying that Nancy Benoit died before anybody heard that Nancy Benoit
Oh,
died.
it was like a teenager.
And by the way,
Whatever.
remember how Vince McMahon blew up like the day before Chris Benoit died, and then
Yeah.
he came back and everyone forgot about it? Yeah, the WWE had something to do with that whole thing. I don't know what it was, but obviously something was up there. There's too many weird things lining up.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we have this flood, right? And then 52 years later, to the day, 52 miles away, there's another flood. This time nobody died, but the entire city was pretty much leveled. And, Crackington was the other city that got hit. That sums to 52 in Gematria. Here, look at this. Boscastle, England, 713, just
I
like
don't
totally eclipse all this other
understand,
stuff.
though. Okay, if what you're saying is true, why? Like, why create this chaos and disaster and sadness on
That's what this is all about, and that's what we need to stop, because this is what's happening in this world, and unless we band together and do something about it, we'll never find out. And something's got to be done.
Well, what do we do and why are they doing it?
Yeah, like why would they do
They're doing it
this?
because there's an agenda to control enough of the population. And look at what they're doing. They just leveled entire nations Where are these people going to go now? Are they going to go to America, go towards the inland? Are people going to start leaving the coasts and going towards the inland?
But it seems to
Are
me
they
like it's just
trapping
creating
the
disaster,
population?
like just
Yeah,
chaos.
and it's another way to launder money and commit fraud as well, because you have all these. Look at how many people are going to need insurance claims after this. You're telling me that like out of all this money, and it's just going to be money that's printed out of thin air and given to the community so that they can rebuild. It's not like the U.S. has to spend money.
You're
We don't
just
have money.
making me much more afraid of being alive. Like,
Well, no. See,
this is terrifying.
think about it this way. This is a
People
long.
are not trying. You mean to say that the people in control of the world are not actually trying to help?
Not at
people?
all.
Wow, they just
Not
wanna
at
make
all.
Money.
Okay, no,
Yes, they want good business.
yeah,
they want power.
I know that in terms of politics, it's all about money, and it's not really about helping the people. But see, here, this craziness is just like people would purposely cause this kind of
Yeah.
trauma
Yeah.
to other people's lives on purpose. Like,
Yeah.
what?
That's how they got to the top, and that's how they're staying on the top. And
How
what I'm
do they get to the top on that? Like,
they
I don't
kill
even-
people, and then they take their spots. And
Well, that's why.
they establish regime changes. Look how many countries the U.S. has been accused of manipulating elections and assassinating leaders in. This is what they do. This
So
is how
it's
it operates.
Basically, like the watching National Geographic, but in like technical form.
Sure. So even Stevie Ray Vaughan, he was most best known for
Because
his
it's
debut
sad
album,
to watch lions kill
Texas
elk.
Flood. Think about Texas Flood, right? This came out June 13th, 1983, a date with 31-112 numerology, just like Houston in Gematria, 31-112. He died, look at this. He was born in Dallas, which has Gematria of 13 and 113, and he died at 13,113 days old. Stevie Ray Vaughan equals 2277, just like Flood equals 227, Earth 227. He
I'm
died
gonna
in
have
East Troy.
nightmares tonight of numbers.
Look where he died, East Troy, 239. That's the 52nd prime number, 52.
No, wait,
like
he
Flood.
died here in East Troy?
Yeah, and he died exactly 27 years to the day before Houston flooded. Ritual equals 27. Why do we have a 27 club of musicians and actors? Because the word
we had an
ritual equals
episode on
27.
27 Club too.
Wait,
Ritual equals 27 in Gematria.
why is there 27 club?
See the word ritual in reduction?
They're all sacrificed to Saturn because
It's
they
the god
need
of
new
everything.
heroes for music, just like Chester and Chris Cornell.
And see, ritual equals 410, and
I
this
feel like
album
right
came
now
out
I'm being
410
brainwashed
months.
into believing this.
Take the red pill, Carrie. Come
This
with us.
is the truth. What I'm sharing, this is the stone cold truth, and this is what's being blocked. YouTube
how-
does not want this
Okay, if
information
you
out.
listen to our 27 club, though, we ultimately decided that it was all coincidental.
I'm
you
sorry to hear that.
Agreed with that, Sean.
Yeah, I did.
That was before he knew.
So how do we fight? How do we?
Well, that's a great question. We got to get the knowledge out first, because what I'm sharing today is known to very few people. Way too few people in this country know about this and understand it. And most people, when they see numbers, they think, and they turn
Math,
away.
yeah.
And that's by goddamn design. Our schools are built to make us fucking stupid. Our schools are built to lead us away from this knowledge. Our churches lead us away from the knowledge. Don't look at the text. Don't look at the numbers. They don't even want people reading the Bible, because when they read the Bible, they might run into all these numbers and think like,
Wait,
wait
but
a
you
minute.
say don't look at the numbers, but we're looking at numbers right now.
Yeah, because they don't want us to. And this is why we're doing it, because the numbers tell the true story about what's going on in this world.
Well, then I'm curious to know what is going to happen when you label a podcast named this,
It'll disappear.
right?
Yeah, is my YouTube channel going to get shut down now?
No, because you know what? There's a lot of people now who are sharing this information. They can only target so many people. They can't go around killing everybody. It doesn't work like that. Because as soon as that happens,
Wait,
then
wait.
everybody else stands up and says, whoa, wait
We're
a minute.
going to die if we post this podcast.
We're probably
Listen,
going to get
listen.
audited.
The guy I learned this from, Zachary K Hubbard, who had 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's the small, that's like the very bottom number of subscribers he actually had. He lost his channel, and he's, he hasn't been attacked physically. He's
Yeah.
had them mess with him. Like, he has this guy on YouTube, he puts on a mask, and he talks about a dead squirrel and how, like, you better look out for this dead squirrel. And then there was a dead squirrel on his property, like, 3 days later, okay? And then when he was out of town on Christmas Eve, 3 days later, someone posted a YouTube video, this guy Montegraph in a mask. He's a Freemason who's part of this YouTube shill gang that helps suppress information. And he said, have you run the numbers on Christmas Eve, Zach? On Christmas Eve, his house got hit by a car. And the part of his house that got hit was exactly where his desk is. The thing is, they knew he was not home, just like when they knew he was not home when they ripped his house off back 2 years ago. And like a bunch of his savings, his weed business, all the stuff that he had ready so he could make a living off of it and just do Gematria full time, all that shit was taken away from him. And then his neighbor across the street, who he knows did it, ended up buying the exact same kind of car that he has after he robbed him. And after all this, it was his neighbor who ended up putting a restraining order against him. And the neighbor kept swearing at him and shit from across the street. Finally, he turned around and said, "Fuck you, dude. I don't want to hear it." And the guy said, "Oh, okay." And he called the police and said he violated the restraining order because he spoke to me. Police cuffed Zach. They put him in, and now he's on record and he can't own a gun. Okay? So they try to freak you out. Washington, which is the 42nd state, like Freemason equals 42nd.
For some reason, this is, not to bring up another show, but reminded me a lot of the current season of American Horror Story.
Yeah, I can kind of see it. Yeah.
How basically your neighbors could be, quote, Freemasons.
You're not watching American Horror Story, you might get spoilers.
Yeah.
I only watched the first episode.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh,
hey, here's TJ. We haven't heard much from him.
Oh, yeah, TJ's
what do you,
here.
give me some opinions, TJ. Let's try to wrap this up and get some final thoughts here. TJ, what are your thoughts on Gematria? Like, are you a fan? Are you not a fan? Like, just what do you think about this shit?
I'm a fan of the overall topic. I like it. I just don't like the rounding issues and the so many formulas and then picking and choosing what formula you want to answer your question. That's my only issue.
Mm-hmm.
I can see
Do
that.
you want me to respond? Or
No, go ahead.
Well, and my point is that all these ciphers, I mean, we're not switching around the alphabetic order. We're applying simple mathematical functions, and these are ciphers that were in use in the Hebrew language. You can do research. You can look into these languages and how they were built, and it will always tell you these are the 10 ciphers that they use. You know, it's square numbers, triangular numbers, prime numbers, same things I'm teaching here. They actually have a couple more techniques that I'm not using, like tetrahedron numbers. You can use those as well. And there's ciphers that I'm keeping off of this site because I'm worried about exactly what you're saying, where it's you're looking at all these numbers. And again, you know, these numbers are in different ranges. You have these these two, which are reduction. You have these two, which are ordinal. And then you have a few more that are going to be different tiers. Like, primes is always going to be smaller than trigonal and so on. So it's not like you're really bending too many rules of numerology to get these numbers. I mean, you're using very basic methods.
You're dropping numbers off, and then you're rounding.
The zeros we drop.
Yeah, and then you're rounding up and rounding down.
You're moving numbers around.
When did we round?
When you're talking about the 1 in 400, it was actually 1 in 398. So technically, you're rounding up by 200 tenths of a number.
What I should point out about that, I just closed that, but well, yeah. So the thing is that it averages a 1 in 398.
Yeah.
But the moon goes back and forth, so it's sometimes 400 times away, and then sometimes more and sometimes less. So 398 and 400. I mean, I think those are pretty close. Like when you run those numbers and look at the synchronicities, it's hard to not imagine like
so
this is the planet
average, right? Instead of just picking one of the random numbers, you take the average of them.
I think the whole thing with Saturn and the moon is like the least controversial thing I'm sharing. I mean, you're talking about a planet that's been worshipped since the beginning of time that we know of.
I've never heard of that before.
And now we see all of a sudden this crazy math between the Saturn and the moon. And, I guess it's rounding, but it's pretty dang close nonetheless. We're rounding with 22 divided by 7 also. I mean, it's not exactly pi, but it's pretty darn close. It's usable,
Yeah. Well, statistical significance is 0.97. So, I mean, you're rounding a little bit, but, I mean, I don't know. I just think that with the amount of equations and the amount of numbers that are in there, it's so high that, of course, you're going to see similarities eventually.
Yeah, but it's not like we see one similarity. I mean, I barely got into the whole thing with United States of America and Freemasonry. I mean, I could go on, and you're talking about like 7 or 8 different ciphers where these things are connecting one way or another, and it's just like, well, I mean, how can this be coincidence? I mean, you can't just pick out a random word from the dictionary, like Freemasonry, and line it to, 33 and all these other things. And really where I see, too, is the alignments between Hebrew and English. And we got into a little bit of it, but like Freemason in Hebrew, for instance, equals 156, like when you write out 33 in English, you know what I mean? So the more ciphers you look at, and I always encourage people to start with these basic 4, 5, or 6 or whatever, and then build off of those, because you don't need those high ones to make enough connections. Like, one thing I made sure I did is in this thing for Sean and Carrie, like, I stuck with those 4 ciphers. This whole thing is just 4 ciphers. And then I used, like, Jewish once to show the 2015, which is pretty wild, So, I mean, I could do this with anything I decode, but to me, these other ciphers are more layers. It's not like we're ignoring these 4 and then just showing what's going on with these big numbers. It's always built off of those 4. So that would be my response.
Yeah. No, and I understand that, and I did like that. Like, you always consistently had the 4, and then once in a while you drew in another one or another
Exactly.
one. So, yeah.
And that's great observation, because that's what I really feel like is the most powerful. I mean, some
keep
of these
it pure.
ciphers are more powerful,
Yeah.
are more significant, because our whole lives, A through Z, 1 through 26, it just makes sense that if we were creating our own reality, like some, theological,
There's a
if we're doing
formula
that,
somewhere.
sure. So maybe somehow there's some vibrations there. So, yeah.
What do you think, Gary?
I'm definitely intrigued by it all, considering what my viewpoints were before this podcast.
Right.
Well, I feel like my viewpoints are cut and dry. I feel like this is much more in depth
Right.
of my viewpoints, and my simple brain cannot comprehend all of the details and numbers.
Sure.
revolving
Wouldn't
around
expect
this.
you to. It's a lot. It's a lot for me to bring this in on one night and just like throw you guys in the water.
I was
pretty crazy.
fully though expecting something else, like fully
Right.
expecting to be like, this is
Complete bullshit.
this is crazy. But you totally, from the points you've made, definitely has made me. It's all circled back to all of my original thoughts on things, just minus the numbers.
Right, and
just with social media and the news and like all that, just like trying to manipulate society as a whole, pretty much.
Right.
So I would say I'm a fan of it, surprisingly.
Because I'm not just showing the gematria.
Not that I fully believe it, but
Well,
I'm definitely intrigued by
you
it.
should, and hopefully you guys, this sets you on the right path. But like I said, I'm not just showing the gematria. I'm showing the dates and how these gematria sometimes lines up with the dates, and also, like I said, the news. Like the plane hitting the building at exactly 9:03, George Bush speaking at 9:30. These things are not coincidence. I mean, these people operate by the numbers. Why is the Washington Monument exactly 555 feet tall? Why does the Pentagon have 5 sides and 5 floors and 5 acres? You know what I mean?
But don't you think that it that's the part of
There's a
me
reason,
that
right?
questions it? Is it coincidental?
Well, why would they put our defense thing for the military? Why would they make it a pentagon? What other reason other than that it's a significant shape? It's just a weird thing to do.
It's just my simple brain can't comprehend it.
Well,
Isn't that Freemasons right there, too?
on the dollar bill he's
Yeah.
pointing at, and well,
I thought it was Illuminati, the all-seeing eye.
What? Wait,
Is that what it
what are
is?
you
Yeah,
saying? Let me-
yeah. No, the triangle I thought was
Our
the
country was
all-seeing eye
built
was
off
the
of-
Illuminati.
Yeah.
it's like it's more New World
That's a
Order. Novus
whole-
Ordo Seclorum means New World
That's
Order.
a whole nother episode,
Right,
which
right.
I think we are going to cover. I know we're going to be doing a flat Earth episode. Me and TJ are talking
Yeah.
about. I really want to be a fan of this, but I really think I'm too stupid.
Like you have a simple mind as well.
Yeah,
You have a hard
exactly,
time
like-
wrapping your brain around all
It
this
is,
information.
and I really think that this whole thing is basically in its baby stage,
Sure.
from what I can tell, and
The study of it for us is.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to try to figure out, and I like the new conspiracies or whatever you want to call them, because there is so much more to try to figure out, and you
Couldn't
got people
it be a
like
black hole though of information and numbers?
what?
What, like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've like what you're saying though is like reminiscent of like, is this just a black hole of information where it's endless kind of?
It could be.
A bottomless rabbit hole that you can't climb out of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is definitely one of the newer conspiracy theories that I've heard of, and it's very intriguing, and it's also very complicated, and it doesn't quite have enough answers yet, but I'm a fan, and I am going to try to keep up on it. I tried looking for podcasts on it. There are not a lot.
Yeah,
And
it's tough, man. We're Zach had his YouTube channel for like 3 years, really, before I entered the fold and built this website. Because
Yeah.
when he was making videos, he was using this Riding the Beast calculator. It's like type in the word, select the checkbox, which cipher, and then hit it. And it was bad. And now it's like, okay, here is everything on the screen. And then I started presenting reverse gematria in my work, and Zach started to look at it, and then we realized, oh my God, this is the other half of the puzzle, essentially. And now we can see things like, government equals 137, just like, whoa. Washington, D.C. equals 137, D.C. 47. We have the Republican Party, 47 reduction. And then we also have the Democrats, 47, because we only get
What about libertarian?
2 parties, 47. Authority, 47. Government, 47. The
Okay, do libertarian.
He goes to the White House. 47. Libertarian? Oh.
It doesn't exist.
Oh, this is interesting. This is the 69th prime number. Remember 69 like Saturn? And then this is the 93rd prime number, like 93 like Saturn.
So libertarians are evil?
No, Saturn is not necessarily evil. I mean, all those things I told you about in my personal life where these numbers manifested in ways that seem way beyond coincidence, is that Saturn? Is that kind of him like this, hey, I got an eye on this. I'm helping control. So to that point earlier of free will, it's like we do experience it as free will, but maybe kind of God's got his whole hands on the whole thing and, I don't know. But I know I'm making my own decisions,
Yeah.
So...
And I don't really know either. I don't think Carrie or TJ does. I don't think anyone really does.
I think it's definitely, though, this is a topic that's worth pondering.
Yeah,
about.
for sure.
Not that it's necessarily that I feel that anyone should think one way or the other.
And you know what? It's not going to click the same with everyone because everyone thinks differently, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are going to look at World Trade Center dust and see that evidence and think, okay, this is the confirmation of the conspiracy. Some people see the numbers and they're just... some people process it as coincidence. Maybe some people have a better understanding of it. Maybe I don't have the best understanding of it, and I'm wrong. But hey, I mean, what I'm showing is pretty intriguing. So, and like what you said, Kara, I think a lot of people should really pick up on the knowledge because if you already believe that these things are planned and that these are conspiracies, well, now you have these bizarre alignments, these unexplainable coincidences sitting behind and underneath these that you should be able to use as further evidence to say that not only are they faking these things, but they're doing them by the numbers. Explaining why they're doing them by the numbers, hell, I can't even totally do that. But it has something to do with the Kabbalah.
My main question is what's with the numbers and who has the time to fucking be like.
Well, they don't have jobs. They don't have jobs in the government. What does the president really do? I mean, can anybody tell me what the president does other than play golf?
He gives speeches.
I got DJ.
He gives speeches that someone else writes, though.
Oh yeah, he talks.
Usually.
I don't
even think he tweets. Like, that's probably someone else.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's
way
ridiculous.
Better spelling than what he could do.
I want to share one other tweet with you before.
One last tweet. We're going to wrap this up. I know we said that an hour ago, but...
This will be for sure this time.
All right.
Okay, so Donald Trump, now his name in Gematria, Donald J. Trump in Jewish Gematria equals 1189. And this is a significant number because that's how many chapters are in the Bible, 1189. In fact, there's 929 chapters in the Old Testament. United States of America equals 929 in Jewish Gematria. This basically is the Old Testament. Here it is. So look at this. Look, this is how far ahead of time our news is planned out. May 7th, 2014, Donald Trump tweets. In the same tweet, he says, the global warming we should be worried about is the global warming caused by nuclear weapons in the hands of crazy, incompetent leaders, talking about Kim Jong-un. Now, 1,189 days after this tweet, we got two main headlines in the news. One was that there was a global warming report that was released saying that the U.S. is already feeling its consequences. And that same day, North Korea threatened to nuke Guam. So Donald J. Trump, 1189, the number of chapters in the Bible, makes this tweet talking about global warming and North Korea in the same tweet. And then 1189 days later, on the date 8/8, Trump equals 88 in Gematria. This was the headline. So this is just an example of how far ahead of time your news is planned. If you want another example, there's a Simpsons episode where Bart apologizes to Australia. Well, if you remember the news story where Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, they had to apologize to Australia for taking dogs and not declaring them.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
The first line in Gematria that she says in that video sums to 7,729, and it was 7,729 days after that Simpsons episode aired. It was the 119th. Wow. Springfield equals 119. So it's everything. It's all coded like this. And I mean, I like to hear that you got, I mean, I'm so happy you had me on and had given me a chance to share this information because to me, I mean, this empowers this empowers us. This is knowledge that we can now use and it's enlightening because obviously our reality is coded to this.
But how does it empower us? Because we can't really do anything with it.
We can take this information to other people and show them that something's afoot with what they're seeing in the news. What's going on here?
We vote third party. We riot.
I think we got to stash the whole system, but that's
before,
the whole money system.
That's a whole nother
episode. Before all this was given to me, though, I've already told people before that why I don't watch the news.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and some people, people just are who they are. I'm the person that doesn't watch the news. Other people are like, they do, and they believe it.
Shame on them.
Well, there's one good place you can get news, and it's on YouTube. Derek,
Sure.
where can they find you on YouTube?
YouTube. Username on there is Gematrinator64, GEMATRINATOR_64. Feel free to subscribe. If you do subscribe, check my channel frequently because you might not get alerts when I upload new videos. That's one of YouTube's tactics of suppressing information. So I'm on there, gematrinator.com.
What's your
can find my
website that
site.
you've been referencing
That's
this
what
whole
he's saying right
podcast?
now.
Yeah, that's gematrinator.com. And yeah, there's a link to the calculator from the main page. I got a few other features on here. There's a date calculator. There's a number form where you can type in a number and get information, an NFL decoder, a link to my Twitter account, and my most recent video that's on YouTube will always be linked there as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the place.
And you guys know you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Make Me a Fan Podcast, on Twitter at Make Me a Fan, or our webpage is makemeafanpodcast.com.
Follow. I know I will.
Yeah, definitely follow us, follow Derek. And if you guys are stiff and you can't bend over and you don't know what to do, you guys probably need yoga. You need yoga in your life.
Hot yoga?
There's no hot yoga, but if you live
Fuck hot yoga.
if
They
you live
fuck
in
up
Just go
the
outside now and
studios.
do it.
if you live in southeastern Wisconsin, you need to go to Balanced Yoga and Wellness. You can find them on Facebook at balanced.yoga-wellness or getbalancedyoga.com. They are located in Franklin, and you should go fucking do yoga there.
And that's cool yoga?
And if you use the
Yes, I don't think they have any hot yoga classes.
no, they don't.
Good.
But I think Chuck's going to start doing DDP yoga.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, never heard of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, if you go to their webpage and use the promo tag Make Me a Fan Podcast, you won't get any discount, but go there anyway. So,
They'll smile at you a little bit more than
Yeah.
they otherwise would.
And check out the awesome photos.
so thank you for joining us, Derek.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Carrie. Thank
Yeah.
you, Travis.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for everyone for listening, and that's it. 2 hours later. Thank you. Bye.
Make Me a Fan Podcast.
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 Make me a fan podcast.